Pacers are in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Joseph Newgarden goes back-to-back, wins the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Well, for our sickos out there, this is a holiday. You draft sickos are out there. You know exactly who you are. You're about to encounter really a 3-day holiday for some. I don't know. You think they're more college football draft sickos or NFL draft sickos, if you follow me? Like, are these the college football fans that are now projecting their beloved Saturday players to the next level? Or are these NFL GMs wearing hats for 32 teams that just absolutely eat it up?
I think this is definitely –
Or both.
I think it's a lot of NFL people because, I mean, I went home to see my family last week, and my uncle's a big Bears fan. All he does is watch YouTube videos over potential draft picks and things like that. Like, he's fully immersed in that world. He's always
he probably didn't sleep last night. He
I
might
know.
be like Jeff.
He's trying to get me to, like, you know, watch some video on some defensive tackle and – you know, hey, what are the Colts doing at 14? Would they trade up? I'm just like, man.
I've been watching this kid from Wisconsin, Whitewater, and I feel like
no, seriously. And I'm like, his wife's like, you know, basically like, give me the wink, like, you know, run for the door if you don't want to sit through this, you know, for the next 30 minutes. So the sickos like him are rejoicing right now.
It'll be a long one, but I do enjoy it. I always say this about the draft, James. It's long hours, but I love that the content is absorbed and consumed. Like, it's not like we're working, you know, long hours and, like, people don't care about this stuff. People eat it up.
That's true.
So I do enjoy that aspect of it. We'll get you set all morning long. I have tasked Mark Dykton with what I think. I don't know. Mark, you think it's a dumb idea, a decent idea?
No, I like it. I like the idea.
Mock draft simulators. So we'll do our first one coming up at 7:30.
I do have a question about it, though.
Oh, okay. Let's produce on air.
So, like, you do these simulators, and sometimes you get offered trades. Now, are we allowing trades? Or are we just saying the Colts stay at 14?
I say we bring up the trades on air. Yes, I do. I think that's part of the process.
Okay.
Because as we sit here at 7:02 on this Thursday morning, I am reminded Chris Ballard has 7 picks currently in this 2025 NFL draft. James, he's averaged over 9 per draft. And if you look at his history, really the one draft that he didn't have a lot, he had one draft with just 7. That was a Carson Wentz trade impacting the amount of those picks. So, yeah, Mark, I think the trades are super relevant.
Okay.
I mean, it's Chris Ballard we're talking about
That's
here.
true.
Was it 12 players the 2023 year? I think the year Anthony got drafted, we were there.
Yeah, I
A
jotted
long day, 3.
I jotted it down. If you look back, and this is going in reverse order, 9 picks, 12 picks, 8, 7, 9, 10, 11, 8. Sounds like I'm counting Giannis' free throw time. So, yes, I think the trade back is super relevant. So we'll do that here coming up 7:30, 1 each hour. Mark will simulate the first 13 picks of the draft. He'll be our Roger Goodell meets, I don't know, Mike Tirico. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll try out a Roger Goodell impression.
You're going to have to explain to the faithful out there who's on the board, what are scenarios, what are draft possibilities, all of that. So we'll do one of those each hour here coming up. 8 o'clock tonight, our airwaves. Just a reminder, 10 minutes each pick if you're projecting out. Probably 10 o'clock-ish for the Colts here at 14 overall, assuming that they stay there. Good Thursday morning to you. I'm Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton. Again, it'll be us 3. It was us 3 yesterday. It'll be us 3 again coming up tomorrow. Nap on the schedule today, I assume, James?
Absolutely, yeah. After the show, I'm going probably not even a nap to sleep. And then I'll get up and eat, and I might go sleep again just to make sure I'm supercharged for tonight.
Boy, double nap. Must be a little 500 week down in Bloomington.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think I burned the candle both ends the last couple of days doing some double duty with Colts and Pacers, but got to lock in for the big boy, which is the draft.
How many basketball games have you consumed as well? I feel like you said you were up to like 2 in the morning the other day.
Well, that was because I was wired after that game 2, Pacers-Bucks, and having to write after that game. It's always hard for me to kind of go to sleep right after I've, like, written. I feel like my brain doesn't want to turn off. And then after that, you know, yesterday, I took a nap and then got up and watched the last couple of quarters of Golden State and Rockets. But
pelvic contusion for Jimmy Butler last night. That's probably the big storyline to keep an eye on that
You're
series.
saying James is very excited for the basketball and he got a pelvic contusion.
He fell off the couch last night, and if that's happening to our 29-year-old James Boyd, then watch out for all of our bodies.
I can hear my dad now. Boy, you're sorry.
Here, moving forward. Yeah, it's funny. One of these things, James, where like I'll probably get home, I don't know, 12:31 tonight, and where I struggle is like I find myself weirdly, and I'm not like a draft nerd,
right?
But I'll find myself weirdly wired laying in bed probably till 2.
It's hard.
I'm like, why am I not just like tired?
Yeah.
Why can't I just fall asleep?
That's usually how I am too. And I'll be going through the beast and looking up where these guys come from, or shout out to Zach Hicks as well. I know he does some stuff for Colts SI. He has his own draft guide as well. Locked On Colts. I bought his draft guide. It's like $11-12. So I encourage you all listening, if you're so interested, go check that out. It's awesome.
If you're a sicko.
Yeah, because he has like literally, here's what measurements Ballard has drafted for each position throughout the year. So if you really want to get into weeds and guess who he'll pick, I mean, it's a fun exercise. So yeah, and then it's prepping for day 2, which is a lot of what I'll have to do later on tonight after the draft. So I'm hoping to get a lot of pre-work done, and then, we'll see what happens.
Again, tomorrow we will have the draft at 7, and 8 o'clock will be Game 3, Pacers in Milwaukee. No practice for either team yesterday. Back on the floor today. The Pacers will be early this afternoon before they head up there to Milwaukee for Game 3. Naturally, I think anytime the team goes on the road, you probably lose a little bit of confidence in this series. Pacers in 5 was my early thought when I kind of looked at this series. Probably Game 3 would be the hardest game, especially with Lillard's return happening when it is happening, or I guess has happened. I think what worries me about Friday night is, like, do your role guys continue to play this well? I mean, if you look at it, Nembhard, Nesmith, Turner, they've shot it insanely well.
Yeah.
I mean, those 3 are like 50, 60% from 3. Does that continue on the road? Now, the counter to that could be, hey, they might regress to the mean a little bit, but then Haliburton is not going to be 3 of 17 from 3.
Yeah. So
that's where you could counter some things on Friday night, but I don't know, just generally expecting your role players to continue to play that well away from home. And, like, does Kuzma find lightning in a bottle playing at home and have, 16 points? Because obviously he's capable of that, but certainly in the first 2 games, he's been deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I mean, I would, for the Bucks' sake, they probably need him to make some shots. I would not hold my breath on it. He just doesn't look like a serious player. And that trade, man, it's getting late early, as they say. That was a horrible trade in hindsight, even with an injured Chris Middleton, or injury-riddled Chris Middleton. But to go back to your point, Kevin, I think a lot of it, too, is can you withstand that first punch? I feel like I can already picture it now. They start the game, the Bucks that is, and they start, I don't know, 11-3.
Which has not happened yet.
Right.
The Pacers have punched them.
They've been the aggressor
each time, and the third quarter. That's sneakily key, I feel like. I know, half the people inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse are still the concession stands, but the Pacers have punched in the third quarter as well.
Yeah, but can you withstand those types of blows where it could get loud, it could get crazy, Lillard hits a deep 3, whatever.
Yeah, Carlisle's taking a timeout.
And then kind of regather yourself and dig back into the game. But as I've said throughout this series so far, I believe the Pacers have like the offense and the continuity and the togetherness, even on the defensive end as well, to kind of dig back into a game. Whereas if they punch the Bucks in the mouth, we could see this, I think get a little ugly, because if you can't win, if you're the Bucks and you're as desperate as you probably ever are, then you're just simply not good enough to do anything in this series. And I don't think they're going to win the series, obviously being down 0-2. But, I mean, this is your chance to, make sure you avoid basically walking off the plank.
Do you guys have a draft memory? I have one that I can never get out of my head when it comes to specifically the first night of the draft, which I know really it's been probably 8-9 years where we've divvied up the draft where round 1 stands by itself.
Yeah, I would say my memory that I enjoyed the most is probably Lamar Jackson when he kind of slid, got picked by the Ravens, obviously,
of round 1.
And I believe it was Deion Sanders at the time doing some, work for the network, and he asked him, hey, what are the Ravens getting out of you? He's like, they're going to get a Super Bowl out of me. And obviously that hasn't happened yet, but he's been a hell of a player. and they're in Super Bowl contention, I would probably say pretty much every year. Have they gotten there? No. Disappointing for them. But, in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if he ever wins one, that clip will be, gold.
I know one right off the top of my head as soon as you asked that. The 03 draft, the Vikings missing their pick and like the mad scramble.
Boy, 03 was James Boyd alive?
I know. I was just wondering that.
I was 8. My goodness. I ain't that young.
I do remember this, Mark. So for some reason, I feel like it was the Jags that then is that right?
Yeah, they people running up to turn their cards in because everybody's like, what are the Vikings doing?
All their time.
Mm-hmm.
Getting 10 minutes each pick. So James went super sentimental. Mark, you went more entertainment value. Guys, I can't get the Laramie Tunsil gas mask picture out of my head.
I was going to say the bong gas mask is up there too.
Yeah.
Just thinking to myself how much I'd cough if I hit that.
I was just thinking about whoever posted that, brother.
And that picture was just so iconic. I mean, I have
crazy.
vivid imagery of seeing it right now. I think that was the Ryan Kelly draft, 2015-16, right around there. I remember the Laramie Tunsil gas mask picture. And he fell a bit, right?
He did. He slid a little bit because of that. And I was just thinking, whoever did that, trying to, I guess, blackmail him or whatever.
Man.
Why would he ever give you like money or something like that?
That was still, that wasn't like as crazy social media as we now have it.
No, that would have been all over TikTok today.
Yeah, but happening in real time, like as the draft was happening. You're like, what is happening right now?
I know.
But in fairness to him, whatever he was doing, 5-time Pro Bowler and not a bad career.
Yep, he hit it and has been a nice hit here in the draft. As well. All right, plenty to get to on this Thursday morning. Thank you for spending it with us. Again, Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton. We'll play out the mock draft simulator. We'll do that maybe once each hour here on this Thursday and certainly continue to get you set for what's coming tomorrow night inside of whatever it is, Pfizer Forum, I believe, up there in Milwaukee. That is ESPNU/FanDuel. So for our audience out there that could not watch the Pacers, I'm probably speaking mainly, and Mark, I don't know if you necessarily fall in this boat, but anytime we bring this up, you oftentimes have a good lay of the land on where we at from a TV streaming standpoint. I feel like the YouTube TVers are the ones that get hit hard with the Tuesday night experience.
Yes.
Because they do not have Bally/FanDuel on that network. But you do have ESPNU.
You do have ESPNU.
So unlike Tuesday night, our YouTube TVers, I think you'll be good for tomorrow night. I think you can watch it on ESPNU.
Hopefully. I don't know. There's been times also where you still get the local blackout because it is available on FanDuel. So I don't know. I don't know for sure.
I think that's the case.
I hope you're right.
Please don't quote me on that, but granted, you're probably listening to this to potentially quote me on that. So, I think you're okay, but you shouldn't run into that. It'll be ESPNU tomorrow night, 8 o'clock/FanDuel. And, of course, our airwaves, 7:30, our coverage will begin. Good Thursday morning to you. You're listening to the Fan Morning Show right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Down. Brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Our airwaves tonight, 8 o'clock, round one of the NFL draft. Again, 10 minutes per pick. So if the Colts stay there at 14, kind of right around 10 o'clock is what we're pegging for here in round one. James Boyd, your biggest non-Colts item you care about tonight?
Where does Shedeur Sanders go? Very curious about him. Obviously, the hype around him, who his father is, and the need for a quarterback. Every year, we're like, oh, this guy's not that good, and then teams move up and get desperate.
Yeah, I'll be curious. Cincinnati, a few picks after the Colts. Do they take an edge rusher? Would that impact Trey Hendrickson at all? You know, it's been a rather quiet offseason. Certainly with draft trades. So do we see anything tonight that would possibly lead to that? So again, round one tonight, 2 and 3 tomorrow, 4 through 7 coming up on Saturday. Last night in the association, home teams galore. I guess really the one that is a little bit more entertaining than the final score, Donovan Mitchell had hit some big shots for them to stave off Miami late.
Yeah, because I thought Tyler Hero really drug him back into that game. But, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, that's probably why he's going to be first team All-NBA. He is getting it done out there in Cleveland.
And I know it's a little early, but, like, if the Heat could have won that one, if you're a Pacer fan, you're looking ahead to round 2. Could that series go a little bit longer? Might be a hair greedy to start thinking about that.
Finish your food.
Yeah, I know. That was on my mind, though, watching it. Last night, the Celtics, they take care of business without Jason Tatum. And as we mentioned in the opening segment, Jimmy Butler left early due to a pelvic contusion. Sounds like an MRI upcoming for him. The Rockets evened up that series 109-94. Tonight, we've got a big Game 3 up in Motown. That is the Knicks and Pistons. The Pistons were able to split there, those first two in MSG. The Thunder playing the 16-seed Memphis Grizzlies. And really, that series should probably be over by now. And another Game 3 with a 1-1 series. Nuggets and Clippers, 10 o'clock. Your favorite game of the night?
I would probably say it's Knicks Pistons.
I like how chippy that series is.
Well, if we all could stay up for it, I think we'd also vote Nuggets. Clippers has been pretty good through 2 games
they've been
as well.
down to the wire. And I'm, again, sentimental. Kawhi coming back from the injuries and looking like, Michael Jordan that last game. I was like, you know what? That's pretty sweet stuff.
Major League Baseball, the Cubs are winning it all.
Hey, now, let's calm down. But that was a good win. That was another very good win, another late one, another sweep. Beat the Dodgers. And I think it was like John Heyman or something wrote like the Cubs have played 26 games, and like 20 of them have been against the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. And they've won like the majority of them.
Peaking on April 24th, that sounds like the Cubs. Premature there. Maybe before the bedroom even occurs. The Cubs are peaking there. No shock as well. I won't mention the Red score yesterday.
Oh, how convenient.
Well, the Reds did win. I'm just,
I'm just saying, why
humble,
slide it under the bed?
Just being humble here. Oval testing over at IMS yesterday. I know some technical difficulties delayed things by an hour or 2, but they were able to get on track. Boy, Mother Nature, what a great day yesterday was here in the Circle City. I don't want to make too much of any speeds and month out from the 109th running, but you see Dixon, Newgard, and Sato, 1, 2, 3. That's 5 Indianapolis 500s among that trio there. Love seeing Elio in the top 10. I think he'd be the first to tell you this drive for 5. Qualifying higher is something that needs to happen for the soon-to-be 50-year-old. Didn't we look that up, Mark? Isn't he about to turn 50 like next week?
I believe that's right, yeah.
Elio Castroneves. So today, 9:30, a little boost action over there. One more day of testing before we take a break from the 2.5-mile oval. One more race here. Barber coming up on May 4th before the road course, of course, and then the Indy 500. We have tickets to give away, Mark. Did I miss that yesterday?
Yeah, so we didn't give them away yesterday. So we have 2 pairs of tickets to give away.
And this is the Sancio Grand Prix, correct, at the road course?
I believe that is correct, yes. Let me check that, if the system works.
Once you check that, let me know. We'll just do fast fingers on that. Other items of note here, rest in peace to certainly an icon from those 85 Bears. That would be Steve Mongo McMichael passing away. I would say not arguably, one of the more well-known members of that 85 Bears team. Mark, I don't know, maybe more wrestling-wise, or maybe that just furthered the Pro Football Hall of Fame career.
I think it furthered it. Also, he was just an awesome dude.
Great personality.
I met him before. He was very nice. I mean, I did the Four Horsemen from WCW. He threw that up for me, so that was always cool. But just a really nice guy. So he came like this. You thought this big bruising guy was just going to kick your ass and everything. And he probably could have, but he's also just like a sweetheart of a guy. He was just renowned by fans. Like, he's just a nice dude off the field and everything like that, and just had a horrific disease. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But I am glad that at least he got to know that he got into the Hall of Fame way later than he should have gotten in.
Yeah, last year.
But he finally got in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Much deserved there. Again, he should have been in years ago. But one of the stalwarts and definitely one of the most famous guys on that 85 Bears roster, which is the greatest defense in football history.
Yeah, he has a restaurant in Romeoville, Mongo McMichael's. I believe it's still open. And we had like a fundraiser there when I was a kid. And
He ran for mayor.
Yeah.
Romeoville.
And I was thinking, who is this guy? And my dad's like, who is this guy? And, bust out the tape and break it down. So obviously I'm well-versed now, and rest in peace to him, because he means a lot to a lot of people that I know personally in my life because of that 85 season.
Yeah. One of the all-time great seventh-inning stretches at Wrigley Field, too.
When he
saw
just
that
clip
ripped
going
the
around
hell
yesterday
out of Angel Hernandez and got tossed out of the game.
That was excellent. ALS, the sickening disease, of course, that took the life of Mongo there. You mentioned you think he would kick your ass, or could. I'm thinking of Rick Carlisle.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. He wanted to see the faces of guys that were like in Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, that was like the movie Warriors. It's like, Warriors, come out to. That's what I see Rick just waiting around the corner.
James Johnson, and Mongo coming down the alley at you here. James Johnson with the grills in. Good luck.
I want to see the faces of those guys.
Yeah. Good luck getting through that trio.
He doubled down on that, too, when he was walking out of the media room, and I'm like, man, that is never going to happen.
I hope the Pacers are able to, sweep the Bucks, so when we have them on Tuesday, maybe we could double back on that.
Yeah,
just a little bit here. I don't know how Rick will dabble with that, but nonetheless, NFL Draft Night, it is here. On the other side, we will do our first mock draft simulation. Mark Dykton's going to press the buttons. We'll see what happens in the first 13 picks. We'll put our Colts hat on and what we would do at number 14. Kevin Bowe and James Boyd, Mark Dykton here on a Thursday.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Fitting music with the draft in Green Bay tonight. I feel like I'm watching NFL films. Can see Lombardi's breath right now. By the way, I had a listener reach out to me yesterday saying he's dating Vince Lombardi's granddaughter.
Okay. Does he get like a Super Bowl ring by proxy or something? Or
not sure how the royalties work on that.
Get one of those slips that say, I'm a part owner. Like all the people that buy the money. I got one owner. No, you're not.
Yeah.
You spend $100 on a piece of paper.
I didn't even know that was a thing until I believe you told me about
Nothing
that.
says bitter Bears fan more than Mark
Bunch of
Dyson.
losers.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely on him. I'm with him on that. That is you
That
bought
is loser
this
mentality.
for what?
Yeah.
As the Packers fans just absolutely smile down on Mark Dykton's Bears and their pieces of paper. They're holding them in hand, and Mark just leans for the 85 Bears. It is draft night. Kevin Bowe and James Boyd. Mark Dykton will get you set. Mark has pressed the buttons on a draft simulator. We will throw that your way. We have simulated the first 13 picks. Mark has a couple of interesting trade offers, I believe, to throw our way as well. So we'll put our Colts GM hat on here and do that in just a second. James, listener Tall reached out in the break and wanted to ask about a tight end trade, not a draft pick. He goes, I'd love to hear you guys discuss the potential of trading for a tight end. Dallas Goedert, Michael Mayer, former Notre Dame tight end, out with the Raiders, or somebody else. Tall adds, with this regime needing to win now, could this be an option if both Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland are gone, or if they don't love either of them? Veteran tight end trade, thoughts?
I'd probably avoid Michael Mayer. I know he didn't have like a great season last year. I'm pulling up the stats right now. I believe
he largely hasn't lived up to the second-round pick.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, last year.
Probably the best way to put it.
In 11 games, 21 receptions, 156 yards, no touchdowns.
Brock Bowers caught all those balls.
Yeah, so that was. I don't know if I trust that one, but with Dallas Goedert, I would actually entertain that. And the reason being, he is an established player, so you're not getting something where you don't really know who he is. And some of that, with the draft, you're still projecting. Even the highest level players, you don't know for 100% that they're going to be a guy. I mean, obviously, there's some Andrew Luck fans out there like, we knew he was going to be good. Yes, he's an exception to the rule. Most of the time, there's still some doubt as to how it'll translate to the NFL. You know what you get in Dallas Goedert. I believe he's 30 right now. And if you go back to his last season with Shane Steichen in 2022, he had 55 catches, 700 yards, just over 700 yards, 3 touchdowns. That would be a miracle for a Colts tight end. I'm not saying you can put up those numbers again. Last year in 10 games, got a little banged up, just under 500 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. Again, that would be great for this Colts offense, who just hasn't had a consistent guy. I believe they haven't had a tight end catch 500 receiving yards in a season since Jack Doyle.
Yeah, 2019 Doyle.
So, yeah. So to me, I would probably give up. I'd probably give up like a fourth for him. Is that reasonable? I have to look at his contract situation, but I probably wouldn't go much higher than that. But for a fourth-round pick for Dallas Goedert and a proven commodity, and you got your tight end, your starter.
Yeah, I mean, Mayer, to me, has almost reached the point where would you even need to give up a draft pick? I hate to say that about the former Notre Dame tight end, but he hasn't really produced at all here in the NFL. Would you double dip at all, or is that insane? Like, would you do take Loveland at 14 and then come back and also trade a pick for a tight end, or is that a little bit overkill?
I wouldn't hate it. It just depends on if you're going to recoup other draft capital elsewhere. So if you're trying to really stock up on day 3 picks or something like that early, and then if you get an early day 3 pick, would that entice you to possibly use one of them? Like if you end up with 2 fourth-round picks, would you use one of them on Dallas Goedert and the other one to, address other needs with the team? That's something to entertain. But I don't mind the idea. I have certainly talked about this on the radio with you all, on my podcast, and it is something that I definitely think that they should at least look into because of the player being Dallas Goedert. And I mean, Shane, you know him personally, you know his work ethic, he can play a little bit. And again, the last year you all were together. Now, granted, it was a lot of things that went right because they won the Super Bowl that year, but He's a good player.
Yeah, I certainly hear the thought out, and I don't think it's a foolish idea. If I had to pick one or the other, though, I'd side with the draft. I think it's a bit of a rare tight end draft, and so I think given that, it's important to tap into that. And I think also, to me, it offers a bit of a potential to get a stud, to get a potentially elite tight end down the road. And I just think this football team doesn't have enough elite players. If I could boil it down to simply that. Dallas Goedert, I think, at his best at the age of 30 would fall in line with a lot of these other guys of like, oh yeah, Colts got some nice players, but they don't have enough like dudes that really strike fear in you. And I'm not saying Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren walks the NFL from day one, and they are that, but I think they can be that for you. We'll play coming up here after our mock draft simulator. Daniel Jeremiah, he got draft nerdy, but he certainly explains, and he is very high on both Warren and Loveland. He explains a bit of the differences in the two prospects. All right, Mark, set us up here, okay? We have the mock draft simulator.
Mm-hmm.
You have pressed buttons and executed the first 13 picks in the draft. Anything of note we should view here and what happened in the first 13 picks?
So we had a pair of trades right before the Colts would be on the clock at 14. So the Seattle Seahawks traded up to 12, and with that, they traded with the Dallas Cowboys, and they selected Kelvin Banks Jr. And then at 13, this would probably tick off a lot of Colts fans. At 13, the Chargers traded up with the Dolphins, and they selected Tyler Warren, tight end from Penn State.
Jimmy Harbaugh, he loves himself. So he traded up but didn't take his own guy. He didn't take Loveland.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So the Colts are sitting at 14. Tyler Warren off the board, one pick earlier. Uh-oh, the phone is ringing. We've got trade proposals. The first one comes from the Washington Commanders.
Before we go trades,
okay.
Will you name some of the players on the board?
Sure. Shedeur Sanders. Does that do anything for you? Probably not. Matthew, I almost said Alex Golden. Matthew Golden, maybe a 23andMe situation. Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. Mike Green, the edge from Marshall. Colston Loveland is sitting there as well.
Oof.
Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon. Jahdae Barron from Texas. Malachi Starks, Georgia safety. Those are all on the board. So those
is
are all
Jahad Campbell still available?
I'm sorry?
Jahad Campbell, Alabama, linebacker?
I would
Yes,
guess
he is, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting here. Okay,
Ooh.
so we have some names to keep in mind. All right, trades, you said? There are a couple of potential trades here?
There are two trade proposals, both coming from the NFC East. The Washington Commanders are the first phone call. They are saying, hey, Chris Ballard, we want your 14th pick. We will give you the 29th overall pick, the 61st overall pick, the 128th overall pick, and in 2026, we'll give you our 3rd and 5th round picks.
Oh, my gosh. Chris Ballard's probably foaming at the mouth hearing all of that.
So that is 5 picks for
just
one.
for 14.
But you were dropping all the way to 29 in this draft.
All right, and then the other trade proposal?
Next one. This guy has been in the news. He's been saying there's plenty of trades and enticing trades that they're working on. The one and only Jerry Jones.
Get your damn act together.
Oh, well, I'm trying to, Jerry. The Colts are having to give up the 14th overall pick and the 80th. This one a little richer. But you get the Cowboys pick at 18, which they traded back with the Seahawks. So you get the 18th overall pick and the 44th for 14 and 80. Do either of those trade proposals interest you boys?
Boy, I could see Chris Ballard doing that Dallas trade in a heartbeat. I mean, you move back 4 spots, and then you get another second-round pick right in the middle. Aren't you picking 45 in the second round?
Yes.
Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd literally be back-to-back, 44 and 45, and you still have your 3rd.
Yep.
No, you would be trading Dallas your 3rd. Did you say that? Did you say the 80th?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
yes. You'll be trading
So
the 14th
basically,
and the 80th.
you're going from the middle of round 3 to the middle of round 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have 3 picks from 18, 44, and 45. Boy, that screams Ballard. Okay, let's put the trades to the side for just a second. James Boyd, if you didn't make those trades, you would do what here, given what's on the board?
Man, I'm tempted to take Jahad Campbell, but he has some injury history.
Linebacker from Alabama.
Really good player. Need to upgrade at weak side linebacker for sure. But I'm probably taking Colston Loveland. I think he's that good of a player. Didn't have to move up for him. And he addresses an immediate need for your roster. And he can go. He can play. I think he's an underrated blocker as well. I know that's one of the knocks on him. And the bottom line is you need a playmaker, and he's done that throughout his career. And he's really good, not that I'm some tape guru, but at separating from man coverage. And if you want a guy that can get open, he does that.
Boy, that Dallas trade back. I know I said I can't pay attention to the trades, but I keep on
I would
coming
take
back
that
that.
in this scenario for sure.
Well,
But I'm staying pat. I'm picking Colts and Loveland.
I'm looking at like who's behind the Colts, and it's the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Bengals. So like
Loveland might get there.
right. So
He might get to 18.
you could still get Loveland at 18 and pick up the 44th overall pick.
Right.
And that's why it's enticing because those other teams, for the most part, have tight ends locked up.
You know, it's funny. Had they not done what they did in free agency, James, the Janae Barron and Malachi Starks, both on the board, corner from Texas, safety from Georgia, those would also be enticing. I said to you guys yesterday, what would give me pause, because I have Colson Loveland in my mock, and under this scenario, I probably would go Loveland, if not that trade back. What if one of the offensive linemen were to fall? And Mark, you mentioned Kelvin Banks. A team traded up for him at 12.
That was the Seahawks, yeah.
That would be the one name of like, if one of those offensive linemen shows up tonight at 14 that they do, like Latu last year, like they don't think would be there. They didn't expect to be there. I could see them very well going offensive line. But under this scenario, I don't see that offensive lineman there. So I will go with Loveland. But boy, that trade with Dallas, even a non-Ballard world, I know people hate trading back, but if you all of a sudden had 18, 44, and 45,
you have to do that. It would be malpractice if you didn't.
So we are turning down the Cowboys.
And then Dallas is coming up for Shedeur Sanders at 14?
I think they would be. So we are turning down the Cowboys?
I wouldn't turn it down. I would tell Jerry, you know what? Nice doing business with you.
Do we dare accept it and just see what happens?
How about Warren going to 13? Go ahead, Mark. Do the trade.
Okay, we're accepting.
Is Loveland still there?
They took Mike Green with the 14th overall pick. Colston Loveland is still there.
Oh, man. Now
are you cooking with gas?
Can you picture the Ballard laugh in the draft room right now?
Yes.
Can you picture
Colston
the laugh?
Loveland and Shedeur Sanders
He always yells
still
before
there.
he laughs. Ha! And then he laughs.
He's got a big laugh. So who went, Mark?
So the Cowboys trade up to get Mike Green. The Falcons took Jadae Barron. The Cardinals took Matthew Golden. And then the Bengals took Malachi Starks.
Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Loveland at 18, and here you go. Now you're cooking with the grease.
With the 18th pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Colston Loveland, tight end, Michigan.
Gosh, that tone is going to be stuck in my head on Sunday so much. I'm going to hear that 200 times in the next 3 days.
I'll be telling the Packers fans, come on, bring it, boo me.
Now, if you're Daniel Jeremiah, he is not one that thinks Loveland, I think, will be there this far. Daniel Jeremiah earlier this week explaining his differences, and again, he's very high on both Tyler Warren and Daniel Jeremiah.
Those two guys are
Colston Loveland.
Those two guys are two of the top, 7 players in the draft class. And it's just with them, specifically, I think it's just a flavor thing. What do you value? What do you prefer? Loveland, a little more quickness off the line, a little more quickness at the top of routes, can really create separation. Warren is just a big, massive bully who's going to wall guys off down the field. Like he's better on the move, whereas Loveland, if you're talking about, gearing down and working back to the quarterback, he's going to be a little more comfortable there. Whereas I think Warren, you run him down the seam, you're running on overs, doing those types of things. And he's a bully when the ball's up in the air, and he's a pain to get on the ground. So, stylistically different. I would give Warren the edge in the run game, but Loveland competes in that department as well. So, I have them touching each other on my list, not just at the tight end position, but overall. Warren's at 6 and Loveland's at 7.
Man, think about that. He's got Warren and Loveland as two of his top 7 prospects in the entire draft.
And you know what? I believe Dane Brugler has it 10 and 11 in his top 100 rankings. So, again, if you've been reading a variety of different pre-draft coverage, a lot of these guys believe the gap in between the two players is not that big. And then, again, it comes down to preference. And in this case, I think the Colts would prefer Tyler Warren, maybe because of the, inline blocking and being a 3-down guy or whatever, but Colston Loveland is a baller.
Where are you at on that. Let's expand that a little bit further, James, because I think you listen to Chris Ballard talk, you can hear, and Shane Steichen, I think you can hear two things at tight end. I think you can hear we really need the passing trait. We need the receiving trait. Third down, if you have a difference maker at tight end, it can really help your offense, et cetera, et cetera. You can hear that. And you can hear Jack Doyle. You can hear, no, we need dependable. We need reliable. We need 3 downs. We need a guy that you put in the huddle and you're not tipping your hand, receiver or runner, or I guess blocker, I should say. What are you hearing more? Like, do you hear? Because I bring that up to say, and I'm pigeonholing these prospects a little bit, but like Colston Loveland is thought to be more of the high-end receiving type.
Right.
He's younger. He, don't look necessarily at his numbers, but like, he was a big focal point in Michigan's offense that won a national title at the age of 19. He's probably more receiver first than he is blocker. Whereas like Mason Taylor, the son of Jason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU, I would say the prevailing thought is he's the third best tight end in this draft class. People describe him a little bit more of like, dude, super reliable. You draft this guy and you can sleep easy tonight. Might not, high floor, low ceiling, maybe is probably a way to describe him. So do you hear more Loveland or do you hear more Taylor in how the Colts describe tight end?
Ooh, well, they haven't said much about it, to be fair, but I think when you heard, I believe this was Steichen say, we need a pass-catching tight end, or we're going to target one or something about possibly looking at one, that to me was more so if Loveland is there, we're probably going to take him. And we lean more towards that because, I mean, they have the blocking. They have all those things down. And I do believe that Colston Loveland is an underrated blocker. Keep in mind, he played all last year with like a messed up shoulder. That's a factor that they would have to consider. And then on top of that, if the dude wins and he separates, which I believe that he has the upside there, maybe just Tyler Warren, that matters at the next level. And you can work with that, obviously, if you're Shane Steichen, because and if you look at it, whenever he's had, a high-end or relatively solid tight end, they've had good seasons. It's just that you can't really pull that out of the guys that you've had in years past.
Yeah, and to me, the tight end issue for the Colts is not just like Anthony Richardson has struggled to find easy in the passing game. James, the tight ends didn't do anything with Joe Flacco. I mean, like, it was an issue regardless of who your quarterback was. To me, it's almost an added bonus that finding easy in the passing game, being more methodical, again, being more boring, all the things that I've said about it, it's a bonus that the tight end would also address that. To me, your tight ends would be bad, have been bad, no matter who the quarterback is. And yes, Cam asked this, due to injuries, are we just saying that the tight end room for the Colts without Jelani Woods? Yeah, I act like Jelani Woods isn't on the roster.
Yeah, you have to. It's the same way with Juju Brents.
Right.
You have to approach as if those guys will not be available because they haven't been.
Yeah.
It's just reality.
It's unfortunate, but that is the reality of it. Okay, our first mock draft simulator. How we feeling? Do we feel good about that?
I got
feel
a
good.
sports arousal, the fact that we were able to trade down and still get Colston Loveland and get a second-round pick. That made me feel pretty good.
Oh, I'd be pounding the chest in the war room.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sound like the Cubs here on April 24th.
You know it. Swinging some
Your
big sticks.
Who did your Bears take in that mock draft? That was 10 overall.
Geez, let me see. They took
They go Georgia
Jalen
defender.
Walker, linebacker from Georgia. That's fine by me.
Anything you've laughed at draft-wise?
What do you mean, like?
I think I've laughed at Shadur Sanders to the Colts.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I would laugh at
there's.
that, too.
I mean, I think there's always a few prospects when you do these mock draft simulators, and I'm like, there's just no way he's gonna be there. Like I saw Kenneth Grant going maybe like in the middle of the second round, and I'm like, that dude has been mocked in the first round by a lot of people, and he's a very good player. I don't think that's gonna happen. Maybe that's the bias coming out in me having covered him, but I mean, the dude is legit, and so there's always like a few prospects where I'm like, that's not gonna happen. I mean, for the Colts, it's someone like, I don't know, taking Quint Ewers. I'm like, are you serious?
Do you laugh at quarterback on day 2? Do you laugh at the quarterback in round 2 or round 3?
I do. I laugh pretty hard.
I mean, that guy is like going to be a legit red shirt in the NFL because he's not going to get any snaps.
He's not going to get any
Yeah,
snaps.
I don't know if I
laugh
don't
at
know
that.
if I'm Ballard laughing at it though.
Oh, I am.
I would not do it. Let me be clear.
Oh, okay.
But
that makes sense.
if you look at the Colts, right? I mean, they've done a lot of homework on quarterbacks projected to be taken on day 2. So that's where I'm a little bit like, wait a minute, could they?
That's fine. A lot of teams do a lot of homework on these guys. Don't mean you got to take it.
No, that's fair.
I'm not wasting a day 2 pick on a quarterback who isn't going to get any snaps.
Did you see Daniel Jeremiah's final draft?
You guys see who's calling me?
What in the hell? I'm surprised he's up. You want to take this call on air?
We have someone out there that somehow, I guess you have to have both Jake and I's numbers that somehow calls me from Jake Query's phone. And there's no chance in hell he's awake. Can you imagine the last time Jake Query woke up at 7:54 on a Thursday?
Maybe Boo stepped on the phone, and it was like a paw dial.
This is now twice. Sorry, I interrupted you, Mark. What are you saying?
No, I was saying, did you see Daniel Jeremiah's final mock draft that he put out yesterday?
He went with Loveland, right?
No.
Did he not?
For the Colts. No, he had Loveland going to the Broncos a pick earlier. He had the Colts selecting Shamar Stewart. And I was like, well, I can't imagine that going over well with Colts fans.
I had Shamar Stewart in one of the scenarios I did. Yeah, he's the eye poppy, edge traits, little production. Boy, that would be a polarizing pick.
That's why I said thoughts on this, and it did not go well.
That Quiddy pay, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A little bit of those vibes, certainly. All right, much more coming up, 8 o'clock hour. We'll do one of these each hour, maybe our next one around 8:30 or so, a mock draft simulator besides the draft, and we still got to get to what would a wish list look like for the Colts, couple of local angles to keep an eye on, maybe not necessarily tonight, but here, draft weekend. And a look ahead to Game 3 coming up tomorrow night up there in Milwaukee. Can the Pacers go up 3-0 on the Bucks? It is NFL Draft Day. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton getting you set right here on 93.5, 107.5, The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
I love this song. My own worst enemy, Mark Dykton.
You know it.
8 o'clock hour, draft day, 12 hours from now. I was about to say the Titans will be on the clock. Let's be honest. Goodell will introduce all the draft prospects. It'll be like 8:13, and then it'll be
That's
like,
my hot take. Well, not even a hot take. I think it's a believed and well-respected take. Just make the pick to start 8 o'clock.
Literally the smartest thing you've ever said and will ever say on the history of the show.
Dang, you sound like somebody else right now. Is that Jeff Rickard? You know, just to give me the old backhanded compliment?
Hey, all good. Jeff will be back on Monday as we recap the draft, and we'll see where the Pacers are at. We'll have 2 games to recap Pacer-wise coming up on Monday. Reminder, the Sunday Game 4 tip, brace yourself, 9:30 p.m. Eastern for the Pacers and Bucks here coming up. Game 4.
That should be a fun Monday morning show for us.
That should be indeed.
If the Pacers win tomorrow night, are you breaking out the broom, KB?
I think you got to, right?
I mean, you're getting their best shot tomorrow night.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Because you also create is this Giannis's last game as a Buck?
I was talking about this
The
yesterday.
quicker you win the next game, the more that storyline becomes relevant.
Yeah, I was talking about this yesterday with Alex Golden, and it's like, man, since that championship run in 2021,
We're talking first-round exits.
I mean,
Remember Miami beat them 4-1 as the 8th seed?
It's been nasty.
Yeah, that was the failure question press conference for those that missed that. Mark, let's give away those tickets. You said a pair to the Grand Prix coming up. What are you laughing about?
Somebody in the comments said Jeff will watch the draft tomorrow morning.
Well, I mean, hey, as long as he gets it done before 7 a.m.
That's
We're
true.
all good. Pair of tickets to the Grand Prix coming up May 10th over there on the road course. Hear me out on this draft trivia question. Little nerdy. Name the Indiana college. The last Indiana college Chris Ballard selected a player from with the Colts.
Good thing they cannot see in the studio right now.
See, the phone line's already lighting up. I feel like most of them did not even hear the question.
Should I say it again?
Yeah, say it again.
Throw it out there again.
Okay. Basically the last draft pick that went to an Indiana college that Chris Ballard has chosen. So obviously Indiana colleges, from a Division I standpoint, you certainly think of Notre Dame. You certainly think of Purdue. You certainly think of Indiana. I don't know if you think of any others that possibly could be the answer that maybe Colleen Bowen attended or Mark Dykton's wearing the shirt of right now. Mark currently fielding questions on that front. We'll do another mock draft simulator coming up at 8:30.
Oh, so somebody just got the cold shoulder.
We're already on the second call here. James wish list. I think we all can agree on tight end. So let's move tight end.
Okay.
When we reconvene on Monday, what would that draft wish list look like? What are other areas on this roster that you think it's paramount the Colts exit the draft with?
Tight end already.
Yes.
Linebacker. O-line, D-line are probably my next.
And I guess just to take it another step further, are you saying starting caliber guys at that position? How are you describing the importance of those?
I would say you need a starting right guard, or even if you take a tackle, whatever, you need somebody and a starting caliber player that you pick up for your offensive line because you don't have an answer at right guard. And as you pointed out yesterday, Kevin, Braden Smith, glad he's back, but he's on a contract year. So you need to have some reinforcements there. Defensive end, defensive tackle, either or. You only got one defensive end on the contract through 2026. That's Laiatu Latu. You lost Diallo Dangbo from last season. He could play inside. He could play outside. Played the most snaps of any defensive lineman last year. He's gone. You need somebody there. And the defensive tackle, love Grover Stewart, love DeForest Buckner. They're both 31. They're not getting any younger. You got to replenish that stock there as well. And then linebacker, you need somebody to pair with Zaire Franklin. And keep in mind, Chris Ballard did tell us that Jalen Carlisle, the 5th-round pick from last year, who in theory is supposed to be the rangy former safety turned linebacker, he had shoulder surgery this offseason, and he might be a little limited to start, start the offseason workouts. Should be good for camp, according to Ballard, but bring somebody else in to compete for that starting job.
Yeah, I nodded my head at all of that. I would describe kind of the trench need, if you will. And I know I've used this phrase before, but I think one of the goals when you're drafting is, can you successfully pass the torch from position to position? In a perfect world, you'd be able to do that. For example, they have not passed the torch well from Robert Mathis to whatever you have a defensive end. They tried. Jerry Hughes didn't work here.
Right.
Bjorn Werner certainly didn't work. Like, they attempted that, but they look like Team USA in the Olympics trying to do the baton. So I look at the trenches, James, and say you need to pass the torch on both sides of the lines better. Ryan Kelly and Will Fries have exited, okay? How are you passing the torch there? You brought up the ages of Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. I still think those guys can give you good football.
Yes.
By the way, shout out to DeForest Buckner's wife. I saw welcome a daughter into the world. So 2 boys and now a
He's
little girl
got
for
a daughter, and Zaire's got a daughter now. And
was it Bernie? Was it Ryman as well?
yes,
Yes, a busy
Girl
offseason
dads.
there. Yes.
You know,
hashtag
life.
Girl dads. Got it right here on the mug. Shout out to my wonderful sister-in-law, Anna Lubbers, who got me the Kobe Bryant girl dad quote here on my water that I drink.
Can I throw a shout out too?
Yes.
Shout out Greg, who not only nailed the school but nailed the player in the path. So he's going to the race.
respect.
Chirp, chirp. Round 5. Was that 2020, Mark? 2021?
It sounds about right, yeah.
Danny
I'm actually
Pinter.
wearing a Ball State shirt today, so that works out well.
James Boyd was all over that. Danny Pinter, the last Indiana college.
2020.
2020 draft. Well,
Yes.
COVID action. I've got 2 Indiana colleges going to my mock draft. Marcus Bowe, the offensive lineman from Purdue, in round 3. I got Curtis Rourke in round 6 from Indiana. But yeah, James, pass the torch in the trenches. I would say that is kind of on the wish list. A starting caliber linebacker, which, again, to be fair to Ballard, he has been, I mean, honestly, on the Ballard epitaph, it should read Hall of Fame drafter at linebacker.
That's the one where I'm like least worried.
Right.
Because you've done it so many times.
Yeah, Ballard, in all levels of the draft.
Yeah.
He's done it. A couple other sneaky wish list items. I think you need a pass-catching running back. I don't think that needs to happen on day 1 or 2, but I think at some point in this draft, you need a Nyheim Hines type of player. So I would throw that on the sneaky wish list. And boy, I don't want to say it too loud, and it might be in the undrafted form, but a kicker.
Oh, undrafted.
I know, but
Undrafted.
But if I literally said to you right now, James,
Nothing you can say to me right now would help.
hear me out. Please listen. Gosh, I feel like I'm talking to Max or Rosie right now. Dino Nuggets are coming your way. Okay. The Colts have 7 picks, as we've talked about, right?
Yes.
In round 7, they have the 232nd pick. If the 232nd pick became your kicker for the next 10 years and kicked at a top 12 kicker rate in the NFL, you would not say that was a waste of a pick at all.
Well, if was a 5th, I'd be drunk. So, no.
All right, man. I get you were a former RA, and you probably said that to the kids on your floor.
No, you know what? I had 2 rules as an
There's
RA.
a poster on his door. He just pointed to the
No,
door.
no.
Look
play
at
like
this.
play like a champion's on the inside of the door.
No,
and on the
seriously.
outside
Do
of
you
it.
want to know my 2 rules
Sure.
as an
Yeah,
RA?
yeah. Little 500 weekend in
These were
Bloomington, by the
literally
way.
the only 2 rules I had, and we still have people that broke them. Number 1, don't die.
Well, if you don't follow that rule, you're not seeing that sign.
No, but number 1, they follow that rule. Number 2, don't get close to dying. And there were a couple who
In that order.
Okay, don't die,
right.
don't get close to dying. Or you can reverse the order if you want to, but yeah, it was a few that had, copious amounts of alcohol that got pretty hairy there a couple of times, and they didn't thank me for it. A few of them were pretty upset that their parents probably got ambulance bills that were really, really high, but I was thinking to myself, I'd rather you be mad at me and alive, young man or young woman, and not no longer with us. So.
Amen to that. RAs, frankly, are.
I had to quit that job. It was too much.
Put them on the teacher and nurse list.
It was too much.
They don't
Was
make
that-
enough money.
Was that always like an old wives' tale that like if your roommate died, you got straight A's the rest of the semester?
I actually don't
Do you
even know if
that?
that was a thing, but I will say they love me. I mean, look,
Mark, you have anything to share? Were you dropping anything in your
No.
roommate's drink here?
No.
Jeez.
I mean, there were some moments where I was like, maybe this could do wonders. Actually,
Uh.
no, I would be on a watch list at that point. Like these grades can't be his.
man, I'm serious. I couldn't smell, I couldn't hear, I couldn't see. I was like, just do whatever you want. So, It was
Except I.
a
Don't do
nice
that.
year and a half as an RA. A lot of people enjoyed it, but some enjoyed it a little too much.
Colts wish list again. The tight end. Can you pass the torch in the trenches? Linebacker, starting type of material. Again, pass catching running back. I think is important at some point. And kicker. I don't think they're going to draft one, but again,
I just think of RAS, relative athletic score for those out there, 10-point scale. Usually, Ballard picks the guys, especially in later rounds, that have like a lot of athleticism, maybe not a lot of production, and I just cannot picture a kicker RAS moving him. Not going to happen, KB.
Now, do we need to pick up Dane Brugler's beast? I believe he has 2 draftable kickers in this year's class. Come on now.
Not draftable for the purposes of the Colts. Have you not heard?
I know.
Spencer Schrader is the next Adam Vinatieri.
He talks about Spencer Schrader like I talk about Tiger Woods. That is certainly true. Scott Agnew going to join us coming up 9 o'clock. We'll do our next mock draft simulator at 8:30. Mark will simulate the first 13 picks of the draft. We will pick at number 14. We'll field some trade offers potentially at number 14. On top of that, I don't think it was this past Tuesday, James. I want to say it was last Tuesday. I asked Rick Carlisle about his timeout of disgust, and I believe he didn't necessarily like that phrase, but I would argue amongst the 30 NBA head coaches, I would say Rick Carlisle is more trigger happy with taking timeouts than maybe anybody else.
I'm kind of anticipating seeing it tomorrow night.
Well, and you bring that up, and I don't think you're wrong, by the way, but if you look at games 1 and 2, who's taking those timeouts?
Yeah.
It's been Doc.
Yeah. The Pacers are out there like the dream team. It's like, we're just going to start off, kick your teeth in, and
jumped they're treating the Bucks like they're Angola here to start the first quarter and the third quarter, which I thought that was sneaky the other night. Milwaukee had kind of made a run there into the first half.
Yeah, they cut it, I believe, to maybe like 6 or something like that.
It might have even gotten to 4 at one point, but I think it was 6 or 8 at half. And boom, you open up the second half. Neesmith hits an open 3. And next thing you know, it's like an 11-4 run, and Doc's taking another timeout. You have made Milwaukee take that timeout each of the first quarters, each of the third quarters. That's not par for the course of the Pacers. That's not a given. I mean, we've seen them take that early timeout, especially first quarter, several times. And I think when you do that, it goes back to what you said in the opening hour of the show, James. The Pacers have been the puncher. They have been the attacker. Again, in each half of these first 2 games. Now the question is, can you do that on the road? And because when you do that, and the Pacers have done it so frequently, you make the other team be perfect. And now Milwaukee has to have a flawless fourth quarter. Now they have to play Lillard 37 minutes. And if you look at the end of that game, I think you saw Giannis hands on his hips. I think you saw Lillard hit a wall. Like, when you're able to punch, now all of a sudden, A, they're wilting, B, the 48-minute game, it already favors the Pacers because they're deeper, but it even favors the Pacers more. So can you do that on the road, I guess would be the question.
Well, here's some color for you to kind of give the listeners perspective. So after games 1 and 2, Giannis has done his media availability like usually like the media cafeteria is kind of how we describe it at Gamers Fieldhouse. They do it in there because there's more space, but he takes a long time to come out. And after the first 2 games, he comes in, he's walking real slow, and he plops down in that chair, and he's like a deep sigh, and he's rubbing his knees and his shoulders, and he's fine. He'll go out there and obviously dominate as he usually does in game 3, I would assume, but it is taking something out of him to kind of carry the workload. You could just tell after every game he is exhausted, and he'll replenish, and he'll go out there again. Not to say he won't be available or won't be ready to go, but you can tell just based off his body actions that it's wearing on him. Whereas, I mean, yeah, the Pacers come in and they're a little tired too, but they're not nearly looking as just beat down and withered as some of these, Bucks players.
We still have another pair, Mark, to give away.
Yes, we do. Well, you got another question?
I'm trying to think of one. We'll do that a little bit later. Boy, it looks to be another beautiful day over there at IMS. Again, 9:30 today, cars on the track. Hopefully the technical difficulties solved and they can get a full day in over there. We'll give away another pair of tickets to the road course, the Sancio Grand Prix coming up here in a little over, 2.5 weeks. Did you see one of my heroes retired from the basketball yesterday?
This is Will Barton? Who?
Will Barton. What a name. Will Barton.
I saw a clip of Will Barton retiring.
I forgot that dude even existed. Jimmer retired.
No Will Barton. Will Barton.
No. What's one of the more obscure names you've even brought? Did he go to Memphis, or am I imagining things?
I have to go look. I mean,
Jimmer retired.
Okay, Jimmer makes more sense.
Don't you think Jimmer was an icon there for a minute? And like more, like step above Jeremy Lin icon.
Icon. What do you mean? A step above Jeremy Lin icon?
He was like
Jeremy
a
Lin was an
legend.
icon in the NBA for like 2 weeks.
Well, he was a legend in college.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, Jimmer was a killer in college.
Oh my
He was so fun
gosh.
to watch.
Those volleyball line threes.
I know we talk about
BYU.
Steph Curry and all that, but to me, he was the first guy that I remember seeing that just shot it from what felt like outside the arena.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that BYU team, I think it was Brandon Davies, their big guy. He woke up next to some strange and then got kicked out of school, or else they could have got on a run in the tournament. Do you guys follow that?
I do remember that. That was crazy.
Man, and now BYU gets all these kids to go there. I mean, well, I guess maybe priorities have changed.
A little bit, I would think.
Jimmer, the 10th pick in the draft. You know the pick right after him?
Ooh.
10th pick in 2011. Future Hall of Famer went right after him.
10th pick in 2011. Was it Clay?
Look at you, James Boyd.
Let's go. Klay Thompson. Woo, yeah.
That was Pacers Kawhi draft.
I thought about it for a second. I was like, but that's not the same year.
You know, Jimmer's career kind of turned into he became like a 3-on-3 dude with Team USA.
Yeah, got injured with Team USA over the summer, unfortunately, but he put up some good numbers. And I know people joke about it. Oh, like you can go play in China. Dude, it's still a professional league, and he could score with the best of them. I mean, there was nothing more fun, at least in the college days, of watching Jimmer Fredette go on a heater. I can hear like, is it Gus Johnson? You know, he's got the
from
eye
the
of the
parking
tiger.
lot.
Yeah, he's got the eye of the tiger.
It's an interesting question here. Josh Norris on Twitter. I get the Colts are only connected to tight ends, but what will help you win more games in 2025? A fourth pass catcher with Josh Downs, Michael Pittman, and Alec Pierce, A.D. Mitchell, or a starting right guard? Do you view it that cut and dry?
Run it back for me one more time so I can digest it.
What will help you win more games in 2025? A fourth pass catcher, i.e. a tight end with Downs, Pittman, Pierce, Mitchell, or a starting right guard?
Okay. I'm probably picking right guard. Like, if the right guy, I don't know if I'll pick a guard at 14 or whatever, and I know people are like, well, they did it with Quentin Nelson. Quentin Nelson ain't in this draft. But I think it's a need that they could really, look at seriously, even in the first round, because it matters so much. And as I said yesterday, Kevin, you don't want the conversation to be you don't have a line to block for the quarterbacks you're trying to evaluate. If both of them aren't any good and you move on or whatever, it doesn't work out, whoop-de-doo. But if our constant conversation is, man, Daniel Jones had no time. Anthony Richardson is running for his life because you didn't shore up that right side, and particularly at right guard because, let's be honest, it doesn't take a genius to figure out the easiest way to the quarterback is the shortest path. And that's usually through the interior offensive line. You got to get that figured out because we saw how it hurt Minnesota, even as good as they were, not to have that interior offensive line last year. So it's a good question.
I hear it out, and it is a good question. I also think it's easier to find a starting caliber right guard deeper in the draft.
And we're not saying you have to pick one on day 3. Well, you can get one second or third round.
Look at the contract that Will Fries just turned into as a 7th-round pick. I mean, you go back to the
might be an exception to the rule.
I know, but you go back to the Super Bowl teams with Peyton. Both those guards are undrafted. When you look at the interior of that offensive line, I think what makes the draft difficult or roster building difficult is you have some positions that outweigh others and that you can find answers deeper in drafts, more in the undrafted route than other positions. Now, some would counter and say, hey, look at tight end. I don't think tight end is, yes, you have a George Kittle in round 5. You have Jack Doyle, who's undrafted. But, Kelsey was 3. Mark Andrews was 3. Kelsey might have been 2, actually. Sam Laporta was 2. You still have 2nd and 3rd round picks primarily. So I hear the question. Don't know if I fully agree with that side of it, though. All right, mock draft simulator coming up here in 10 minutes. Mark Dykton, let's check it out.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
As we sit here on draft morning, 7 picks for the Colts, smack dab in the middle of each round. We'll have round 1 tonight on these airwaves, 10 minutes per pick. If my math is correct, we're looking at about, 10 o'clock for the Colts drafting a 14 overall?
Get that coffee ready if you need it.
Today is a 3-cup day. 3-cupper.
Is there a nap in there at some point, too?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately
You
not.
see that
for you.
hair? You see that shirt? He's got class.
Class, baby. Little
You
500 Thursday class. I have 18 kids in my class. Set the over-under. How many will show up?
Well, you wheel the TV in, and you say, we're going to watch the 2003 draft, and you tell me why the Vikings let all these picks go by.
Screw that draft. We're going to be watching the gas mask of Laramie Tunsil, baby,
Yeah.
in 2016. That's probably more Little 500 fitting, right?
Yeah. Then just put your head down on the desk.
I'm
They
going
don't bother me.
to put the over-under at 9.5. Show up today.
How many are in the class normally?
18. I mean, a 75-degree day, Little 500 week of Thursday.
You're an attendance guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'd be this would be me. I'd be looking at the syllabus like, okay, if I skip this class and I get docked for this, it doesn't.
Honestly,
really,
I should edit it to say, like, this day matters more. Like, this is a premium day.
For all the students in Kevin Bowen's class, I apologize for making your life harder.
It's a voluntary workout that isn't voluntary.
The class is a joke. Just show up. Come on now here. All right. Last night in the association, the home teams took care of business. In the East, you had the Cavs. That final score not indicative of how close it was. Donovan Mitchell, some big shots late in that one. Boston, no real issue without Jason Tatum. So the 1 and the 2 seed in the East up 2-0, as are, of course, the Pacers. And the Rockets, they were able to even it up. And outside of Jason Tatum, James Boyd, I would say that Jimmy Butler injury watch, very, very important here with that series now going back to Golden State.
Absolutely. They still might have a chance in this series without him if they just game plan right and you have Steph Curry. But as far as trying to go on a deep run without Jimmy Butler, that will not happen. And you heard Rick Carlisle calling him an MVP caliber player.
MRI of pelvic contusion. For those that missed it last night, Jimmy Butler exited that game early. Tonight we've got 2 great game 3s. I think Pistons and Knicks. That is 7 o'clock on TNT. That series is now in Detroit, New York. A slight road favorite in that one. And the Nuggets and Clippers at 10 o'clock. The Clippers favored by 5.5. Again, that series is 1-1. And we have the Thunder playing the play-in team. That just screams like Purdue versus Grambling. Thunder versus Grizzlies here. The Thunder are 9.5 road favorite. Who would you take in that? 9.5 points. The Thunder is a road favorite.
Thunder.
They're probably going to beat them by double digits. Have you seen John Morant took a layup the other day where he caught the ball on the baseline and just turned and twisted and just threw it up like he was at the YMCA. And
Like
I could
Kevin
not believe
Porter
how
Jr. the other night?
Yeah, like it was similar to that. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a very unserious attempt for somebody who's supposed to be trying to win a playoff game. So it is getting late early in Memphis.
Major League Baseball, the Cubs are good here in April. Thank the Lord it's not September or October. Reds did win yesterday. Mark, congrats. The Cubs deserve more from me. I just can't give it to them.
That's okay. Understood.
Is that a
Cardinals did
sweep
lose, by the
of
way.
the Dodgers?
Huh?
That's a sweep of the
That is
Dodgers?
a 2-game sweep of the Dodgers. They are officially done with the Dodgers 3
Wait a minute.
times in the first
Did
month
you just
of the
say
season.
2-game sweep?
Yeah.
Oh.
They played the 2 games in Tokyo, which were technically Cubs home games, and then they played a series out in
Oh,
LA.
my God. Stop.
Is that allowed?
I saw a bunch of broom emojis on Twitter. I thought it was like a 3 or 4 game
Well,
sweep.
also-
There's no such thing as a 2-game sweep.
There is if it's only a 2-game series. That's it. It's a wrap.
Oh, let's ask the listeners.
That is the
or
dumbest
the
thing I've
YouTube
ever
chat.
heard in my life.
weigh in,
That's
people.
pathetic, Mark Dighton.
Well, you guys.
That's like Bryson acting like he won the green jacket
Let's
walking
have
off
your
the
Reds
first green.
beat the Dodgers as many times as the Cubs have this season. No, it was also because the Dodgers fans were just they came out of the woodwork to try to infiltrate Wrigley Field, and it's like, okay, enjoy
Take
your
that
ride
L
home.
with you.
Yeah,
Yeah, take that back with. You know what, Mark? Get your dubs where you can.
get your ass swept
Life
out of
short.
Wrigley Field. See you later.
James Boyd siding with you makes me want to puke right now. 16th
I've
in
never been a bigger
Georgetown.
James Boyd fan than I am right now.
16th in Georgetown. Glorious weather yesterday. Same today. Plenty of cars on the track over there. Very active day once we got the technical difficulties under control. All 34 cars are participating. Kyle Larson is in town here for that oval test, 9:30 today. On the other side, Mark Dykton, cue it up. It's time for another mock draft simulator. We will simulate the first 13 picks, put the Colts GM hat on, make a selection for the Colts coming up on the other side. Kevin Bowe and James Boyd, Mark Dykton. It's NFL Draft Day.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Boy, our mock draft simulator. Mark Dykton is queued up. Quite the board
This
here
is like fantasy land.
at number 14 overall.
This one's got me feeling some things.
And, well, you might want to keep that to yourself there. Evan has chimed in. You guys are degenerates with this mock draft, and I love every second of it. Yeah, we're draft sickos here on draft day. What we've done, Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton here. Thank you for spending this Thursday with us. We're doing one an hour. So a mock draft simulator where Mark goes to, what's the website, Pro Football Network?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
We simulate the first 13 picks. And now we're presented with the Colts on the board here at 14. In the 7 o'clock hour, we had, I think, probably what you would expect. Colson Loveland was on the board. There was an intriguing trade with Dallas to move back. So I think that was kind of our debate there. Mark Dykton, you have pressed buttons here in the break, and let us know some of the names on the board as the Colts are on the clock at 14.
This one blew my mind. If this level of talent is available at 14, I mean, Chris Ballard, I don't know what's going to happen. He might have to leave the room, but okay. Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland are both still on the board.
Both of them.
Both of them. As is Missouri offensive tackle Armand Membo.
Which, for those that have not been following the draft, James, I haven't seen many mock drafts that have him outside of the top 10.
Yeah, he's a very good player. And
Rick Venturi loves him.
Yeah, he will certainly be in consideration at number 14.
Well, and the other thing with this whole thing is there wasn't any trade-ups ahead of the Colts. So this is all just straight up, this is what's happening. So Membo's there, Warren's there, Loveland's there. So is linebacker from Georgia, Jalen Walker. And then you've got Shamar Stewart, Malachi Starks, the safety out of Georgia, Matthew Golden, the wide receiver from Texas. So there is some juicy talent available at 14 for the Colts. The phone is ringing as we speak also.
Who's on the line?
Oh, hey. It's Jim Harbaugh. Hello, Jim. How are you doing today?
Oh.
He would like to get the 14th.
You're in our Ring of Honor.
He would like to get the 14th overall pick, and then the Chargers would send the 22nd, the 55th, and a 2026 fifth-round pick.
Okay.
Does that do anything for you with all the talent still available?
That is our only trade call?
Ring. Oh, who's this? Hello? Oh, hi, Houston. It's the Houston Texans. They're on the phone.
Oh, that's weird.
I know. Oh, okay. You want to do an in-division trade? Okay, you want the 14th and the 117th pick, and then we will get Houston's 25th, 58th, and a 2026 second-round pick. I say no to both of those, quite honestly.
Sorry, one more time on the Houston one.
The
14th pick.
You would
and then
send
what?
the 14th and the 117th to Houston in exchange for the 25th, the 58th, and a 2026 second-round pick. I don't care for either of those. Nope.
Yeah, I'm not doing either of those.
Okay.
But, boy, I'll tell you what. That board is rich. Oh, my God.
I don't know. I don't think we're going to be unanimous on this one.
Well, let me start here. Is Warren higher than Loveland on the Colts board?
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, I don't think so
is
either.
a very real question I have. Now, Mark, you said what, 25th and 22nd? Is that what the two trade backs were?
Yes.
If you had a trade call of somebody like at 17 or 18 or maybe even 19,
I would entertain that, yes.
I think this grouping of Warren, Loveland, Armand Membu, offensive lineman, Shamar Stewart, defensive end, Jalen Walker out of Georgia off the edge. Mark, in our first mock draft, your Bears took him at 10. So he would be one that I think you'd move back to the teens in that situation. But with those two calls, I think you have to stay there. So I'll start there, guys. Warren, Loveland. Who's higher on the Colts board?
I think it's Loveland, to be quite honest. And I have no intel, obviously, on any of this, but I just get the feeling that maybe they're like, okay, like if Warren goes, we're totally fine with Loveland falling to us. I think they could have a first-round grade that is higher than Warren for Colston Loveland.
And again, I think the narrative that he isn't a good blocker isn't necessarily true. Like, if you've seen some of his tape, and again, considering that he did play through a shoulder injury last year, and he's younger too. We heard Daniel Jeremiah earlier on our airwaves. I've talked to Dane Brugler about this myself personally. The gap between the two players isn't really a gap at all. And every time I talk to anybody about this, they're like, it's preference.
Yep.
Boy, and
you do have Molly Cox coming back as the blocking guy. You have Drew Ogletree. Do you take a swing on somebody who can give you more of that punch
And I think deep down the Colts know, just be functional in the run game. Don't be a liability in the run game. Those are two different things. Armand Membu here at 14. This gets back to the one thought that I have. Again, I have Loveland going to the Colts at 14. Like, just my overall mock draft. But as I've said now for the past day or so, is there an offensive lineman that falls? And boy, this one screams that with Armand Membu here. Guys, hear me out. I'm going Membu here at 14, and then I'm calling. And I'm monitoring. And how far do Warren and Loveland drop? Do they start to drop?
I don't think they're going to drop.
But does either of them get to 20? And then I'm trying to move back up.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Like,
so I'm probably trading a future pick under this scenario. I'm doing the most anti-Chris Ballard thing he's ever done. This is a man that's drafted how many times in round one? Like 4, 5 times in his entire draft in career. And we know he loves second-round picks. He loves them. That's the round I think he's picked the most or second most players from. But that's how I would look at this. I would say Membu at 14, and then if Warren or Loveland starts to get to the 20s, it would cost a good amount. 45 overall is where your second-round pick is to trade up, but that's what I would do. If you could come away with a bona fide starter on the offensive line, the potential to kick out to right tackle whenever Braden Smith's career comes to an end or he goes somewhere else in free agency, plus you get one of these two tight ends, very anti-Chris Ballard. Very out of the norm. Let me be very clear on that. But boy,
so
that gets me a little excited.
I would go – Mark just thinking about how you can clip certain things to use against you as blackmail later on. But I would go –
There's no more audio Mark has. Mark has to – that file has to be filled to the brim by this point.
He's got like the iCloud, backing it up.
For more service,
right?
For more storage, pay 99 cents a month.
I think I go Membo as well, but I will say to keep it in more of the realistic Ballard realm, I'm not trying to trade back into the first round for one of those two tight ends. I'm trusting that I'll be able to possibly move up a little bit earlier in the second round to get Mason Taylor from LSU.
I think Ballard in this situation would do – I think he would take Membu.
I really do think he would do that.
Yeah,
and I honestly would not knock him because –
And that's where the tight end draft depth debate gets into it, James.
That's what I'm saying.
Mean, you brought up Taylor there.
Son of an NFL Hall of Famer.
Right. I mean, he screened again, I think we've almost fallen into, like, we talk about Jack Doyle every other minute, it seems like, with the tight end position. But, like, there is a dependability, reliability trait that obviously Doyle had that a lot of people use with Mason Taylor.
Yes.
Of just super safe. And again, safe does not sound sexy. Safe does not sound round one very much, but there is that thought with Mason Taylor.
Yeah, I believe he ended his career at LSU with the most receptions and yards for a tight end in school history. And then on top of that, reading through Dane Brugler's analysis in The Beast, he's got a knack for making big catches and moving the chains. And, I go back to what Shane Steichen said. You want a quarterback out there who can keep you on the field and move the chains. If that guy if that's his bread and butter, if all he does is get you, a new set of downs on 3rd and 6 and 3rd and 5 or whatever, then that guy will be here for a long time and be very well liked.
I didn't think we're going to be unanimous, but we're unanimous. With the 14th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft,
Warren.
The Indianapolis Colts select Armand Membo from the University of Missouri, offensive tackle. Which also I
love Shakespeare's Pizza when I visited Missouri back in the day.
I did a little bit. I picked Membu and then I let it go. So Tyler Warren, which this seems a bit crazy, went to the Falcons at 15. I don't know about that since they have Kyle Pitts. And then
hell, they could trade Pitts to the Colts.
I was trying to see.
Yeah,
that's true. And I was trying to see where Loveland went, and he did go in the 20s. He went to 21st overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, Kevin Bowen, right on the nose there.
Call him up. Brandon chiming in here. Does Irsay have say in the draft? Tyler Warren and the number 44 jersey, Dallas Clark.
Oh, Lord.
Can you imagine?
Man, well, I mean, we don't have to imagine. We saw some things a couple years ago. Hey, you want to come coach my team?
Frightening thought here on draft morning. We'll continue to get you set. We'll have one more mock draft simulator in the 9 o'clock hour. Two very different ones so far. I love that. Scott Agnes going to join us coming up 9 o'clock. We'll get you set for game 3. Pacers and Bucks tomorrow night at 8. This is the Fan Morning Show, 93.5 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Draft sickos, we're giving you what you want here. On this Thursday morning, we've done a couple of mock draft simulations here with the Colts on the clock. Probably about 13 hours and change from now. That is 14 overall. We'll carry it on our airwaves. Round 1 coming up tonight. Scott Agnes joining us in 10. Talk a little Pacers. I kind of forgot. We're less than 10 days away from Fever preseason games.
Yeah, I believe their training camp is Sunday. Like first day of
Sunday,
camp.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'll probably make my way over there.
Saturday, next Sunday. They'll go back-to-back preseason games. The Iowa City preseason game is on a week from Sunday here. So
I thought about it. I did think about it.
You thought about going?
Yeah, I got an email saying, hey, credentials open up.
What is that,
would you
7 hours?
I don't know if it's that long. Is it?
Mark, will you look that up?
I think it
Indy
is.
to Iowa City. I've done Bloomington to Iowa City back when I was covering the men's basketball team there. Yeah, I saw Gus Johnson in a Iowa City bar after the game.
5.5 hours.
Ooh, that's not terrible.
See, 5.5.
Maybe from Bloomington it fell further.
I was like, man, do I want to do this? But there were plenty of chances to watch Caitlin Clark light it up this summer at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
So, yeah, they'll have 2 preseason games coming up next weekend. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Scott. Reminder locally, and James, I know you were at the Colts local pro day. I'm trying to think. You brought up Kenneth Grant earlier, the Maryville product, who could and probably should, maybe will is the best way to put it, hear his name called tonight, the big fella from Michigan. I'm trying to think locally. I mean, obviously college-wise, Marcus Bowe from Purdue we've mentioned will go, I think kind of, third round, something like that. Indiana will have Curtis Rourke and I think C.J. West. Both of those guys should be day 3 picks. I don't know about Jalen Walker, the linebacker, if he'll get chosen. Certainly Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame, I think would be a great day 3 pick for, frankly, any team. I think it'll be a great special teamer and was, longevity-wise, just an unbelievable player at Notre Dame. We'll see about Josh Fryer from Beech Grove, who played at Ohio State. But, James, unless I'm missing some, I don't think there's a lot of, high school kids from Central Indiana in this year's draft class.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list of players, and I'm not seeing a lot.
Like our Juju Brentses that went in the second round.
Yeah, I'm not seeing
Warren
that caliber of a player or talent this year, which is, there's always some talent that's popping up, and it comes and goes in different years. But, yeah, I'm not seeing that on this list of players. So.
Now, I asked you in the break for a trivia question. Again, we're giving away a pair of tickets to the Sancio Grand Prix coming up. That's Saturday, May 10th over there at IMS. So we'll do that right now. And James Boyd, the question of trivia that you have come up with is what?
Which person will announce the Colts' day 2 picks in Green Bay? They're related to the team?
So in years past, we've seen Patrick McAfee. We've seen Reggie Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
I believe
Patrick
one time
McAfee.
we had
Who?
an orangutan do it at the zoo as well.
Was he the one that announced Grover Stewart?
I was trying, for some reason it was either Grover or Hassan Ridgeway is popping into my head.
Okay.
But it might have been Grover. Boy, doesn't that fit?
Yeah. Grover would.
Grover's a dancing bear.
Yeah, he would enjoy that.
He would enjoy that for sure. So yes, key phrase that you probably threw in there at the end, in Green Bay, correct?
In Green Bay.
So yes, who will announce the Colts draft picks coming up tomorrow night? That would be rounds 2 and 3, 317-239-1070 for that. Speaking of that answer, probably should wait for a caller or two to get on the airwaves. I think Mark just said you are correct on it. Sweet spot for running back is what? Or when in the draft?
Ooh. Sweet spots, I would say late 3rd, early 4th.
Okay. That's a little earlier. Okay, all right.
I know, but part of me is I don't think Trey Henderson will not be there at that time. But if there is somebody that you're really eyeing, why not? Especially if in my mind, if you're going to try to recoup more draft capital on day 3, does that make you a little bit more willing to take a swing on day 2 at a prospect that maybe isn't a premium position? But I mean, if I had to be like realistic about it, thinking with the Ballard cap, I would say 5th round is probably where you want to get serious about picking up another running back to add to the room with Taylor and Khalil Herbert, who is on a 1-year deal.
Yeah, I did the draft scenarios on our website, and I had just one of the, and I labeled it kind of the sexy scenario. Trayvon Henderson going round 2.
Man,
Pick
he's so
overall.
good. Oh,
that would be certainly eye popping. Yeah, I've long said day 3 for the draft. That's rounds 4 through 7. I'm probably a little bit more kind of in that round 5-ish range, so a little bit further back. But I'm interested to see how they do treat running back in this draft. We have only seen, I believe, 1 running back taken since Taylor by the Colts. I think that was Evan Hull.
yeah, I was gonna say,
and he's no longer on the roster.
Yeah, he had the knee injury, and I believe when we talked to him about it, it was like his first major injury in his life, and he was supposed to be the receiving back,
right,
the 3rd round threat, and it just never really materialized because I believe he got hurt in like his first game with the Colts,
yes,
and it just
against Jacksonville.
Yeah, it never really bounced back from that.
Yeah, 5th round pick out of Northwestern. Jeff, thank you for this. Maxon Hook from New Pal, Toledo. Looks like projected to be a day 3 pick here. Thought to be certainly a special teamer. All conference.
I should have known it was New Pal.
Toledo's been great in the MAC here.
Yeah.
Over the years. Was he at the Colts local pro day?
Say the name again?
Maxon Hook.
I have to pull up my list again because
6 foot, 202 pound safety here.
No, he was not there.
Interesting.
So I went back in time. Shout out to Jake, by the way, who won the tickets. Not Jake Query, another Jake.
Well, that would have been odd.
The orangutan.
That's what he's calling for.
The orangutan pick was neither of the guys that you said it was.
Really?
Oh, okay. Who?
Why am I thinking Hassan?
That would have been a great question to kind of throw out there for trivia.
Do you have it?
Yes.
Okay.
Nate Hairston.
Oh, I wouldn't have got
Really?
that one. Wow. I don't know why I'm saying this with Grover.
The 158th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Nate Hairston, cornerback, Temple.
That was the orangutan pushing the button in its cage.
Okay.
Here it is. Grover Stewart's pick in 2017 draft was announced by an orangutan named Rocky.
Yeah, I think
at
you
the
had 2
Indianapolis
picks.
Zoo.
So wait, the monkey did 2 of them?
So you got Hassan Ridgeway doing 1 right here. Hassan Ridgeway's announcing 1. That was the voice, Mark. The one that you played was the voice of Henry Anderson. Do you remember that name?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So I see Zach Banner's name popping up.
So the Colts just
Boy, Zach Banner, that guy didn't even make it to training camp. Big offensive tackle out of USC.
So the Colts have had multiple players selected by orangutans.
Yeah, I'm saying, I know Grover Stewart now. I'm very well versed in my Grover Stewart history.
And then Henry Anderson did the old Grover action. Gosh.
Interesting.
Henry Anderson had a torn larynx one time. He's like, yeah, sorry, guys, I couldn't talk to you in the media. I'm like, dude, don't apologize. You have a torn larynx.
Don't apologize and stop talking.
Yeah.
Does the NFL still do that? The random day 3 selections like that?
I'm sure they do.
Like,
yeah, last year, wasn't it like a bunch of YouTubers and bloggers? And
like, will the
who are
Colts
these
be making a
people?
pick from Berlin this year?
I could totally see that happening,
With them
honestly.
playing
Yeah.
in Berlin later this year? I kind of forgot they have a game overseas.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Second time in Germany.
Did you go to Franklin? Or
Frankfurt? Franklin, Indiana?
I know you've been to the hot dog gym. Did you go to Frankfurt for Colts Patriots?
I did. It was the only time I wore a suit to the game, and my mom loved it.
I love that. That is awesome. That is so James Boyd. 9 o'clock hour. Scott Agnes going to join us. We'll do another mock draft simulator coming up as well. Thanks for spending this draft day with us. It is the Fan Morning Show. Kevin Bowe and James Boyd and Mark Dykton.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
9 o'clock hour here on draft day. Pacers Bucks game 3 coming up tomorrow night. That is 8 o'clock. Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files, joins us right now. Scott, I feel like for our YouTube TV folks, tomorrow night, they're good, right? Unlike they were on Tuesday night. YouTube TV audience, you don't get FanDuel. You were blacked out on NBA TV, but tomorrow night you get ESPNU. Am I right on that?
I believe that to be the case because it's not just NBA TV. You're right. It's a little bit quirky, probably because of the NFL draft and how many resources ESPN obviously pours into that. So when the schedule came out a week ago, it said NBA TV, and it was like ETV for shortened because they were out of space. But yes, I think I haven't gotten full clarification, but that should mean all the YouTube customers, myself included, are set, because I know there were a lot of frustrated Pacer fans who are sitting there just trying to follow their team in the playoffs.
You were all over this back in the regular season when WTHR, I don't know what the right term is, partnered, I guess, and had a handful of games on their airwaves. Was there any thought, maybe it's not even allowed by the NBA, was there any thought of WTHR doing that again here with the playoff games so, more of the audience that doesn't have the local blackout could have watched?
Yeah, my understanding is that was not in the deal. This was something that was renegotiated. I think it was last fall when the regional sports networks went to renegotiate with some of the teams and were giving less money. And so as a give back, they said you can go televise up to 5 games regular season in your market. And so many of the teams, including the Pacers, took advantage of that.
So, Scott, I'm going to put you on the spot here. More likely to happen, Damian Lillard heater in Game 3 or Andrew Nembhard hitting another big shot from the left wing?
Yeah, I got to go with the second one with Nembhard hitting another big shot, just because, miracle's a little too strong, but we just don't see someone come back from what Damian has come back to. We're all used to seeing come back from an ankle sprain or playing through a broken thumb or something like that. But for him to go out there, given this condition, hadn't done anything in a month, and you guys know, if you're not playing, you have no game shape, you're out of game rhythm, and he looked really strong in the first half. Now I think it wore him down. 1 of 7, just 3 points in that second half, to your point, James. But on the other side of that, Andrew's just been so solid, so steady, and he proved once again the other night when the Pacers, it was a 13-0 run. They were on the hinge of losing the lead for the first time, and then back-to-back triples from two of your most steady hands, and Siakam and Nembhard really solidified the win.
Scott, you've been around Tyrese. You know how he's kind of wired. His response to the most overrated player vote by his peers, obviously we saw it on display the other night, but how do you think he's wired, and maybe why do you think he's able to sort of take those things in stride and still, handle business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, first of all, we all know he saw those. We all know he was on some group chat and texting a lot of people about,
sure.
That's what they think. Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to show. He's going to have a new player-exclusive shoe coming out, next year, I'm guessing, that, leans into this, right? It is so WWE of him, and he loves the storyline. Now, on the other side, first of all, you don't like it because it's personal and it's from your peers. It's different if it's your sports debate shows and they're filling time.
Yeah.
But to come from your peers, it's a little bit of a hit. And you've done these polls, as have I. And most of the questions are phenomenal. Most of them dig deep. And, you're commissioner for a day. What would you change? It's like, wow, I hadn't even thought about that. That's interesting. That's where your head was at. The tough ones were always worst game official, worst head coach, and maybe this overrated player. Usually it's a guy that's just not performing and is on some kind of a max deal, and we know that's not Ty's case at all. He very well might be an all-NBA guy. So I think a lot of jealousy perhaps factors into it, James, because of his Team USA selection. Remember, that was less than a year ago. So I keep that on the forefront of my mind. And then he's very much a talker, as we all know. And so he leans into that and is going to continue to lean into that. So I think it probably hurt, certainly, but at the same time, he's got to be content, as he said, in his own skin. Look, he's got a max contract. He's the face of his franchise, the highest paid player in franchise history, and an All-NBA guy. So he's good.
Scott Agnes, you can find his work, certainly Fieldhouse Files. He'll be a busy, busy man upcoming as the Fever are going to get started. A couple preseason games next weekend. Scott, who's been the worst Pacer player through 2 games?
There he is with those, anonymous player questions.
Say, is this an anonymous poll?
No.
Do I go anonymous?
This is very public. This is on air. Everyone listens to this show, right?
Right. I'm going to go.
And Scott,
matchup. And
I guess while you answer it, and sorry to interrupt, but I don't ask it as a trap question. I ask it because I really think every player the Pacers put in the game has contributed in some way, shape, or form. I don't want to act like they all have been perfect, but you get in these playoff settings, guys get exposed. Guys become liabilities quick. I mean, if I ask that question about the Bucks, I can name 3 or 4 right away. I asked that question about the Pacers, and I struggled to find the answer.
Yeah, there's no obvious name, if anything. I think the name, if I had to go to someone, is just because of maybe in this series it's not as necessary in limited minutes, but it's your backup big. It's Thomas Bryant. Just because Miles has done such a fantastic job, and you can go smaller with this group, and they often do with Toppin or Siakam maybe at that 5. So maybe it's less important, but you raised a good point of the underlying theme here, and it's that everyone is starring in their role right now. I thought Jarris Walker was fantastic in Game 1, for example, and did just great. Benedict Mathurin getting to the free throw line second most after Giannis, and he's playing less than 20 minutes per game. He too has started strong, and we know he could have one of those big games where he goes off for 20 plus. It's just hadn't happened yet.
I will not tolerate any Thomas Bryant slander on these airwaves, Scott, because he is my favorite Pacer to watch. He's the funniest player on the team. He got a stop against Giannis the other day. Was celebrating mid-play, and I'm like, dude, get back, on offense. But he brings it every night. And honestly, Scott, I'll take it a little bit maybe off the court, but the vibes with this team, does it feel like a college team? I mean, these guys, they love each other. And you see the bench celebrations, and I don't know if that's always the case, even with successful teams where you got 1 through 15 or whatever, hugging and laughing. And a lot of that has to do with winning. But it's interesting to me that everyone has their own little chapter in this version of the Pacers.
That's such a good point. Everyone's got their great chapter or in their own role and in their own way in which they contribute as well. I was going to bring up Thomas. I mean, some of his biggest things is what he's doing on the bench and support. It's stepping in when guys need it. He's an emotional leader, and that's a good thing. This team, I think, needed that in many ways. The one thing we've seen with this franchise is they've tried to create a culture that is exactly this. So much so that, remember, 6 years ago, they started taking photos of the bench during games and would hang them in the locker room. And just last game, James, in Game 2, the digital team for the Pacers installed a new camera on the basket that faces the bench solely to capture these kind of moments. And so, number one, it reinforces everything they've been preaching. And 2, I think the other thing is it keeps guys engaged, especially during the playoffs. You might be out of the rotation or you might be playing 12 minutes per game. And so if they have all something to rally around and such, it helps keep the energy up. And that's especially important, say, come tomorrow when guys often say, hey, we got to create our own energy because all that energy at Pfizer Forum will be against them.
I was just going to follow up with you about that environment in Game 3. If you had to pick, 1 or 2 things that the Pacers must do to take a stranglehold on the series, what would those 1 or 2 things be?
I think the first one was continue to handle the ball with such great care like they have. I mean, to be in a playoff series and to only have 8 turnovers in each of the first 2 games, and several guys are new to this stage, and there's that additional pressure and national TV eyes and all those different things, for them to keep that even under their season total has been tremendous, giving them more possessions to get good looks. And then I'll say the other one is continue to play at their pace and set the tone. Because I thought that's what they got away from there in the middle 2 quarters, even some in that fourth quarter, that allowed for the Bucks to get back in that game. So to be on the road, you still pressure some full court, still play at your pace, and keep your possessions up with limited turnovers.
Scott Lind with the Fever again. Fieldhouse Files. Scott's all over it when it comes to Fever coverage. Boy, it's getting real close. I know it, at times probably has felt like a bit of a long off season just with how the schedule is, but 2 preseason games coming up next weekend. Important dates of note before that season opens up on May 17th, Scott.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. Just 9 games before the first preseason game. That's next Saturday against Washington. They play them, a team that had 3 of the top 6 picks. So there's some recent interest there for those that were watching the draft. Then, of course, be in Iowa for Iowa City, the Brazilian national team. That'll be a nationally televised preseason WNBA game. Like, how rare is that got to be, right? That's what I want to find out. But more than anything, the biggest thing, KB, is it all gets started Sunday with the start of training camp. Most of the players are here by now. They've been trickling in day by day. The rookies have begun to sign their rookie contracts. But much like we've seen with the Pacers in the past, is it's the week or 2 leading up to it that kind of sets the tone for the season. And more so than any season before, this group has really worked together ahead of time. Like, they don't have to be here, but you can clearly tell they want to get a jump start on this season and start this year probably motivated by their awful start last season just because of their unfamiliarity and the brutal schedule that the WNBA gave them. But it all starts Sunday afternoon, and look forward to being back there at Cambridge.
Again, Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files, where your coverage is. Scott, as always, sir, thank you.
You're welcome. One more thing I probably should note, by the way. How about the construction over there, their new practice facility? They've already demolished that jail, leveled the ground. They've made great progress in the last month, so I just wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, and for those that are unfamiliar with kind of that general area, Scott, we know the St. Vincent Center where the Pacers practice is right across the street. I'm talking east of where Cambridge Fieldhouse is. The old jail, you'd go directly north of that, right? So I guess like northeast from Cambridge Fieldhouse, where the basketball court is outdoors, where Commission Row is. Is that right?
Yeah. Go out the northeast end towards Commission Row, towards that corner where there's like 6 different intersections. That's exactly where it's at there. And that county jail was there as long as I could remember, just south there of the bus stop. And now they're already starting to put foundation, it looks like, in the ground. So I went over there to kind of get my monthly update, and I was impressed.
Open date is 2020.
Looking forward to the 27 season, I believe.
Okay. God, I wasn't sure how quickly that would be done. Again, he's got you covered in all ways, shapes, and forms when it comes to Pacers and Fever. Scott Agnes, Fieldhouse Files. Scott, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Scott Agnes, Payless Liquors Hotline. Reminder, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. ESPNU, which I don't think will be blacked out. Opposite FanDuel, so you'll still get Chris Quinn and JJ. And then, I know it's scary to say out loud, 9:30 on Sunday night. 9:30 on Sunday night, Pacers Bucks from up there in Milwaukee. That might be the most frightening starting time of all time. 9:30 on a Sunday?
Yeah, that's really
Even
weird.
the NBA Finals, when it's a Sunday game, they'll bump it up to like 8.
Yeah. So, Jeff, if you're listening, got to get a nap in, my brother.
Oh, man.
And no watching in the morning. No watching in the morning.
Man, if he's
we're
watching
staying
that
up,
in the
baby.
morning, he might need to wake up about 3 a.m.
Yeah, we're staying up late, brother.
to get that.
I will be
And
sleeping all day Sunday, though.
Our mock draft simulator is upcoming. We have done 2 so far. I'd say we've had 2 very different mock draft looks. So for those that have missed it so far, Mark has executed these mock draft simulators with 13 picks simulated. We get a couple trade offers. Mark rattles off who's on the board for us, and we make our picks. So far, a debate of Colston Loveland and a trade back with Dallas 4 spots. That was in the 7 o'clock hour. The 8 o'clock hour, boy, it got us feeling some things. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and Armand Membu, big offensive lineman from Missouri, all on the board at 14. That brought a little bit more indecision with us.
Well, you got really spicy because you were having Ballard trade back up into the first round.
Can you imagine if he did that?
That'd be a fun show tomorrow.
Now, James, a lot of work tonight, but that would mean less work the rest of the weekend.
I would be open to it.
Okay,
certainly.
hear me out.
I don't think either of you would complain.
No.
Hear me out.
Well, less
Selfish on
picks.
it.
I mean, As a writer, I'm like less picks. as a drafter, as an evaluator, if I'm Chris Ballard, more picks.
I don't know. I think Colts fans might be excited about that. Much more with that. We'll do another mock draft simulation coming up in 10. Let's go ahead and check it out.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Green Bay, Wisconsin, the location of the 2025 NFL Draft. I'll pause so Mark can play the inevitable sounder. 8 o'clock tonight, our airwaves. That'll be 10 minutes per pick here in round one. Colts scheduled to pick right around 10 o'clock. James, you said earlier, Shadur Sanders, the biggest thing you'll be watching, non-Colts division for tonight.
Yep.
I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals at 17. Do they do anything at defensive end? If they do, does that bring Trey Hendrickson back into the trade fold? That's where I'll go. Mark, your Bears, a thought or two at pick number 10?
I still don't. I mean, I guess I'll be okay. I'll trust Ben Johnson if they really go Ashton Genty or they go Tyler Warren. I don't like
Is Genty
either.
going to get there?
I don't know.
I saw Jacksonville.
I've seen Jacksonville. I've seen the Raiders. I don't know. But that's been the hot topic is, will they take one of those guys? I personally would rather they get an offensive lineman or an edge rusher. But we'll see. I'm open to that. I also wouldn't be opposed to them trading down at all. So if anyone wants to come calling at number 10, be my guest.
Well, we've seen the Colts. Peter Shager had that in his mock draft, had the Colts trading up for Colston Loveland with the Bears at 10. We'll do another mock draft simulation here coming up on the other side. Last night in the association, the home teams got it done. Those home teams being Cleveland, Boston, and Houston. So Houston evened up that series with Golden State at 1-1. We did see a pelvic contusion for Jimmy Butler early in that game. He's headed for an MRI. Obviously will be a big storyline in that series. James, I thought Cleveland-Miami was much closer than it looked. Miami made a furious rally in that one, and Donovan Mitchell hit some big shots there to ice it.
Yes, I believe he had 17 in the fourth quarter, which obviously, when it's winning time, he's one of the best.
So those two series, the 1 seed in Cleveland, the 2 seed in Boston, both of those teams up 2-0. Tonight, you'll get a couple of ones that are already split. That would be New York and Detroit. That's 7 o'clock in Detroit now. 1-1 that series. And then our late one tonight, it'll be the Clippers and the Nuggets. That is also 1-1 with that series shifting to Los Angeles. Major League Baseball, fly the W. The Cubs are winning it all, people. A 2-game sweep. Mark Dykton has
he's
celebrated
using the term now.
this.
Yeah, you should be
like
saying
Rory
that.
McIlroy celebrated his Masters win. Absolutely pathetic. I have never heard
hold
a
on a
sports
second.
term that means less than a 2-game sweep in baseball. Unbelievable. I'm seeing the broom emojis all over my timeline tonight. I'm like, what was it a 3-gamer or a 4-gamer with the Dodgers? It was 2 games, people? What the hell are we doing?
Okay, hold on in a second. Describe it to me then. If it's a 2-game series and one team wins both games, what would you call that?
Get him, Mark. Get him.
That's a sweep. That's a series sweep.
Get him.
You won a pair of games. What do you
Okay,
do?
let's say this is back in the day. If the Pacers win a best of 3 series and they won 2 games, wouldn't you say they swept the Milwaukee Bucks?
Don't best of 3 me with these
No.
stupid series back in the day. Mark, there's a reason why those changed. Because it's soft. Calling it a 2-game sweep, unbelievable. And Cubs fans are agreeing with me, Mark. You're in the minority on this. They are agreeing with me.
I'm seeing Cardinal fans agree with me. So what kind of twilight zone are we living in right now?
Yeah. People I really hold in high regard, St. Louis Cardinal fans out there.
The Cubs in the month of April have taken 4 of 5 against the Dodgers. So stick it, Kevin.
Yeah, 4 of 5 sounds a little better than the 2-game sweep. Here we are.
Well, when
celebrating on Waveland,
I guarantee if the Reds get 2 games against the Dodgers,
free drinks at Sluggers, 2-game sweep.
Oh, everybody, Skyline Chili on Kevin. 2-game sweep.
Oval testing over at IMS today. Another great Chamber of Commerce day for Doug Bowles in the city of Indianapolis.
The boxing gloves out?
Well, I mean, it got a little spicy there early. I mean, James, you agree with me.
No, this is like having the kid pick which Christmas he's going to, mom or dad.
Sweep? Come on, James. You're not that soft.
It's not about soft. I just like being petty. So I'm taking my dubs where I can.
Thank you, James.
Okay.
Both
you,
of you.
Never apologize for winning, Mark. Remember that, okay?
Exactly.
Both of you make me sick.
And if the Cubs got swept by the Dodgers in 2, what's wrong with your Cubs? They got swept.
I don't want to make too much of speed testing over at IMS a month out from the 109th running, but Dixon, Newgard, and Sato, that's 5 Indy 500s amongst those three. Atop the speed charts yesterday. Love seeing Elio in the top 10. The drive for 5 at the age of soon-to-be 50 for Elio Castroneves. I think he'd be the first to tell you. Qualifying a little bit higher is a goal for him here as he goes to that drive for 5. So nice opening day for the legend over at IMS. And rest in peace to certainly an icon from those 85 Bears. That would be Steve Mongo McMichael. Went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame last year. Just the absolutely horrific disease that ALS is. Unfortunately took the life of Mongo. And Mark, certainly a personality, and honestly, and I don't say this just to kind of, satisfy your fan interest, but I would say a big personality in the wrestling world as well.
Yeah, he's definitely post football career. He was doing wrestling in WCW. He's added to the Four Horsemen, the legacy that is the Four Horsemen stable in wrestling. So Ric Flair sent out a obviously a tribute to Mongo. Called him one of his best friends, and just a great personality off in and out of the ring and everything like that. So he had friends far and wide. And again, I wouldn't wish this disease on my worst enemy. It's just horrific what it did to him, and I'm just glad that he got to at least know that he was going into the Hall of Fame. Took way longer than it should have, but he finally got in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Again, one of the stalwarts of the greatest defense that ever played the game.
Yeah, and, when you think about ALS from a local standpoint, I know Bob Kravitz has done great work with his annual golf outing. I believe it was his dad. Is that right, James, who ALS struck? I believe it was dad. Maybe it was mom. But Bob does great work with that at Country Club of Indianapolis, a great course on the west side for those that have not played it. So Bob coming up July 21st. You can find that on Bob's Twitter page. His golf outing to raise funds for combating what is certainly a horrific disease in ALS.
Do you remember the Ice Bucket Challenge? Did you do that for the ALS?
I definitely did it on my porch at 5840 Browse Avenue, right behind Chittard High School, where I used to live.
I want to say I did it my freshman year in college, and the guy who did it with me, Lord, he made sure it was a lot of ice in that. But it was a fun, and it was good to see that go viral for obviously dumping water on your friends, but for a very good cause.
Yeah. I think I got a mild concussion with how much ice was in mine.
Yeah, I certainly had some shrinkage, to say the least, from the Ice Bucket Challenge. That is an understatement. All right, mock draft simulator time. We've done 2. I cannot wait for the 3rd. Mark Dykton, cue it up. We'll do that on the other side.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Picturing like Gale Sayers in the open field. Alan Amici.
Isn't Gale Sayers, like, does he have like the record for most touchdowns in a game by running back? It's like six.
Every time I hear this music, I immediately just think of old school NFL films on a Saturday morning.
The autumn wind is a raider.
I love when I migrated from cartoons to watching Ron Jaworski breaking down, like, I forget what the exact show was called. Maybe it was just NFL Sunday something. Oh, NFL Sunday Matchup, maybe. Does that sound right? Sal Palantonio?
I feel like my throwback segment is when they did Jacked Up. With that is no longer a thing because of head trauma. But Lord have mercy, I would watch that and be like, man, they are hitting out there.
Ages me a bit, but I remember renting VHS tapes of Football Follies from like the library.
Oh my gosh, Mark, you've never sounded older.
I know. I was like, I like to see them because it was funny and stuff, and you didn't have YouTube back then.
I'm like, does Addison know what a VHS is?
No, she probably doesn't even know what a DVD is.
I know we took some of the VHSs out of my parents' house. I think it was Christmas, and Rosie was dumbfounded, staring at them like, "What in the world?"
I mean,
I remember pulling the tab off of it when I like made them in junior high, like so you couldn't record over it.
My kids get pissed just because like they assume with streaming you can just get anything anytime, and so when something's not available, like, what is this? I'm like, this is real life.
They don't understand like the thrill of having like run to the bathroom because your favorite show is like about to during the commercial break.
Of course, you have the older generation saying, "Well, think about when we had it back in our day," and now we're just simulating mock drafts. That's what we're doing here.
That's what we're doing.
On Draft Thursday, Mark Dykton has done one each hour here. Mark, our final mock draft simulation. Again, 13 picks have been simulated. The Colts are on the board at 14.
We were getting all lathered up in the last draft because, like, man, if this happened, like, what kind of a dream scenario is this? Well, guess what? Reality came and smacked you in the back of the head with a bag of nickels on this one because this seems more likely of what's going to happen. So the 14th overall pick is still there for the Colts. There's no trade-ups in this scenario, but it seems like a more likely draft board going. At 12, the Dallas Cowboys selected Tyler Warren, so he is off the board here. At 13, the Dolphins took Armand Membo. So he fell, but not enough to go to the Colts at 14.
And I guess just to remind our audience, in the 8 o'clock hour, you had Warren on the board at 14, you had Loveland on the board at 14, and Armand Membo as well. So they both went the first or the 2 picks right before the Colts.
Right before the Colts.
Pain.
Right before that, Ashton Genty to the Bears at 10, and Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle from Texas, went to the 49ers.
Before we get into who's on the board and the trade backs and all that, what do you make, if anything, of we've done 3 of these. Tyler Warren went 13 in the first one. He was on the board for the Colts at 14, and he went 12 in this one. You make anything of that? 12?
I want to, but
13 and 14?
When I read like real people,
Vegas has the over-under like 9.5, 10.5.
Yeah, so I'm like,
Warren.
man, I'm looking at all these other mock drafts from, some of the gurus.
Now, Brock Bowers went 13 last year in a much better offensive draft.
Right. But this year, I mean, again, I believe Daniel Jeremiah has both tight ends as top 10 overall prospects. So it's hard for me to see him still being there. I don't even want to give like Colts fans that hope.
Okay, Mark, any trade backs for us here?
So there are 2. One I'm a bit more intrigued by than the other one. We'll get the other one out of the way first. Look, it's the Boston area code. It's the New England Patriots.
These guys
the phone.
again.
14th overall pick. Okay, what are you giving us? The 38th, the 69th, the 77th, and a 2026 second-round pick. But you aren't going till 38.
Do you know how good it must feel to hang up the phone when you get stuff like this?
That's
you know
exactly
what? Chris
I
Ballard would then have 38, 45, 69, 77, and 80. He'd have 5 picks in his sweet spot. I know everyone else hangs up, but not that man.
I need like a flip phone.
I know, but you know how he operates.
I do.
Mark,
I do.
The other one?
This one might get you a little tighter in your loins. This is the 14th overall pick and the 117th to the Denver Broncos for pick 20 and pick 51.
I'm doing that.
I'm kind of leaning your way.
117 is your 4th rounder, so that would be gone. You would then have 20, 45, 51, and 80.
Now, I should tell you that Warren is off the board. Colston Loveland is there. It is a good likelihood that the Broncos might be coming up to get Colston Loveland from you. So is it worth possibly losing out on Loveland to drop a few spots and pick up the 51st?
Boy, that's a good one. That's tough. I probably am a take Loveland at 14 there. As I've said throughout this morning, the pause would be if an offensive lineman is there. But, Mark, you mentioned Kelvin Banks and Armand Membu went just before the Colts.
Yep.
Under this scenario, Shamar Stewart, I know is a name that some people have thought with the Colts, the defensive end out of Texas A&M, eye-popping athletic traits, little production in college. He is on the board, but I don't see that offensive lineman. And, James, I know you like Jihad Campbell a lot, who is on the board, the Alabama linebacker.
Yeah,
Could you get Campbell at 20 if you trade it back?
I'm taking the trade back on that one.
All right. I'm going to draft Loveland at 14.
I'm trading back. I will be at 20, 45, 51, 80. That would be my next run. So let's.
So for fun, should we accept that? We'll put that Loveland would be a 14, though. I think if we didn't take it, we would all take Loveland at 14, correct?
Right.
So let's see what happens if we take this deal, if he's still there at 20. He is gone. He did not go to the Denver Broncos.
Is Jihad Campbell there for James Boyd?
He is. Colston Loveland went 18th to the Seattle Seahawks in this draft. So now you're looking at the 20th overall pick, and you have Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon, Malachi Starks, the safety from Georgia, Mikael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia, Simmons, the Ohio State offensive tackle, Campbell is also there.
Give me Jihad Campbell. Come on down, brother.
Now,
Jihad
Campbell, again, athletic freak at linebacker.
Had some injury history. I should throw that out there.
Some injury history to the point where they think like training camp's a little bit in question, right? Or
I don't know if that is.
Am I off on that?
Correct. I know with Loveland it is, but I'm not so sure with
Loveland. They think will be ready for training camp.
Yeah, I believe that. I want to say Jihad Campbell had some surgeries, injuries in a couple of years past. I believe his last surgery was like March 2024 on his shoulder, if I'm not mistaken. Shows you how much I'm looking at the beast.
Linebacker, again, I think it's a need. Why I probably haven't given it more attention is just because of Ballard's history drafting so well there. And he brought up, earlier in the week that, Zaire Franklin is obviously going to play every snap. The next guy on that list at linebacker currently would be Jalen Carlisle, who I thought he had a flash or two, but he didn't play a ton as a rookie.
Yeah, missed 7 games with fibula and shoulder injuries.
And he had surgery on the shoulder, and he's going to miss the spring. It is, I think if the Colts hadn't drafted this well at linebacker under Ballard, we'd be talking about linebacker a lot more. And does Lou Anarumo have any influence here? They have made 2 big splashes, certainly in free agency. But is there any thought? I am of the thinking, if you're debating offense and defense tonight, you've got to figure out Anthony Richardson. You go offense.
I hear you, but man, Jihad Campbell is.
Would the counter say, hey, we got this new defensive coordinator. We need to think about him too. I would not go there, but.
Man, I'm just thinking and then just the way that kind of plays out, I feel like you get more bang for your buck moving back a couple spots to 20, but moving up from 117 to 51. Like, that's a big
Which
jump.
Screams Ballard. I mean, we have to keep on mentioning, Ballard is he's a trade back. I brought up these stats to open up the show today. If you look at Ballard's draft history, his draft pick number is a little over 9 per draft. Right now, the Colts have 7. And he usually is picking more than 9 players in a draft.
And I'm curious how many first-round grades the Colts actually have on players.
Yeah,
because this is one of those drafts where after the first 3, it kind of falls off. So if you don't have guys highly graded, you are more apt to want to trade back and recoup some picks later in the draft. So I'm curious where that falls if he's willing to let a Colston Loveland go and just okay, well, if we don't get him, we got more picks later.
Yeah, I totally agree with this, Mark, mainly because it feels like, again, a more Ballard-esque move, but to kind of, verify some things. He had, Jihad Campbell, that is, had shoulder surgery, a slight tear in his labrum, and he had surgery in March of this year, so literally last month. So he probably is not going to be available early on, I would imagine, labrum tear surgery. But I'm looking at this guy's, 117 tackles last year, 11 and a half of them for tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, 1 interception, second team All-American. He screams a playmaker and explosive athlete, physical, good off-ball instincts. I need it.
Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. We'll scream about the draft one more time. We'll do it here next. This is the Fan Morning Show.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
As you just heard there, Rick Venturi going to join John coming up 4 o'clock today. I was talking with the coach over the weekend. He's a little bit nervous if both those tight ends will get there. I know we just did some mock draft simulations throughout the show, and I would say generally, Warren especially, fell further than I thought in several of those. Colston Loveland was available at all of them at 14, but Rick Venturi's kind of with Daniel Jeremiah in that he thinks both tight ends could go before the Colts are on the board at 14, which, does that bring in the whole trade up, which we know the Colts had interest in doing last year. Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, who do you think they were going up for? Or Rome Odunze, I guess.
I would think Bowers, just because, one, you're not moving up quite as high, and we saw what he was his rookie year, a great player.
Interesting stat of the day here from Scotty. Mark, cue us up here on the Jiffy Loop stat of the day. Right now, as of this morning, each team has held on to its first-round pick. There's never been an NFL draft, which started in 1967, where we didn't have a trade. So the closest the NFL has come to having each team open the draft with its first-round pick was 93. Of course, the Chiefs traded number 1 pick to San Fran for Joe Montana a few days before the draft. And, James, I didn't realize this. The Colts they have the 14th overall pick tonight. They're the only team in the NFL that has not taken an offensive lineman in the first 2 rounds of the last 6 drafts. You got to go back to Quentin Nelson.
I feel like Scotty might be onto something.
Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith in 2018. Round 1 with Nelson, round 2 with Braden Smith.
Will that streak end?
That's a great, great question. Great question.
I'm probably going to say yes.
Yeah, I think that's a smart bet with Ballard.
Got to make sure the trenches are okay. Got to protect your passers.
Done if they went through the first 2 picks without a trench player.
Yeah,
Stunned.
I think a lot of it has to do. Maybe a better question is: do you go offensive line or defensive line first? Which class is deeper?
And again, I'll continue to echo. I think Loveland at 14, but if one of those offensive linemen are there,
Mimbo,
Kelvin Banks, Texas, I think is another name. Could they operate in that manner and then kind of try and dip into tight end depth? Mason Taylor, Elijah Arroyo. I know it's a little bit later in the rounds. Aronde Gadsden's kind of intriguing receiving type out of Syracuse for me. So some things I'll be watching.
Will you ask your class later today? Hey, what are the Colts doing?
Guys, I'm just hoping they all show up. Again, 18 kids in the class. It's Thursday of Little 500, and it's 75 degrees in Bloomington.
Over under what, 8.5?
I said 9.5. I don't think it's a huge.
I'll take the over. I
think people like your class.
I don't think it's a huge party group. I did have one girl that was like, I'm like, hey, are any of you going out tonight? She's like, going out tonight? She's like, I'll be out every night this week. I'm like, what time do you then wake up? She's like, bars close at 3. Wake up around 10 or 11.
Respect.
Boy,
I love the honesty.
I don't have that in me anymore.
Can you imagine right now if they said, and Mark, we're probably speaking to you and I, we're much older than James Boyd. We've wear and tear on our bodies. If Jeff was here, he'd ask you about your girls wrestling you. Could you do 3 a.m. bar close Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Not anymore.
I'll be giving you my RA speech. Don't die and don't get close.
I could get through a night, maybe 2, but I'm not getting through the marathon anymore. I don't have that dog in me anymore. That dog has been put down.
Old Yeller.
That dog got the needle.
I'm not judging you. I guess I am, but man, you ain't making it through 1 or 2 nights. Let's be honest. If you attempted that one night, you'd be hungover till Labor Day.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, KB?
Oh, hell no. Hell no. I could, it'd be one of those things where you start Usain Bolt in the marathon. You're in there, you're feeling yourself, the music.
He's got the hair again. He's feeling good.
Feeling good. You're like, oh, boy, wow. I didn't realize the talent was this. And then, boom, all of a sudden, a shot of Goldschlager or 2, and next thing you know, you're stumbling into the punching bag in the corner, and you're trying to play Golden Tee by yourself.
Man, some of the craziest days was with unofficial St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, that's University a big thing in Illinois. I remember we had all the Chicago IU crew that would talk about going to unofficial.
Man, you could walk down the street.
What is unofficial?
It's unofficial St. Patrick's Day.
Okay, got it. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, no, just breaking it down. I didn't know either till I got there, and you just walk out of class on a Friday, you might see somebody in a
So it's the
in the
Friday
bush.
before St. Patrick's Day?
Pretty much like just that whole weekend, they just partied up.
Got it.
But yeah, Friday is when they usually start because the people brag about doing things they shouldn't before class and then going to class, which is insane to me. But yeah.
I hope the weather cooperates for this weekend. I do think Little 500 itself is an awesome event. Again, girls race on Friday, boys race on Saturday. I called it one year. I couldn't have been more uneducated about it. I'm like, well, and here they are turning left. And, nice exchange for the Cutters. And, and Phi-Psi is now in the lead, and they're turning left. So, yeah, that's probably not something that showed up on the resume reel, but hopefully the weather cooperates well. Reminder, 8 o'clock tonight, our draft coverage will begin. 10 minutes per pick on that. We're thinking the Colts somewhere around 10 o'clock tonight for their selection.
Final picks. Should we give our each official pick of what we think the Colts do? You don't have to take them at 14. You could say trade down or something.
I've been pretty public with it. Yeah, I think it'll be Colston Loveland at 14. I've certainly thought long and hard about the trade back. I guess where I haven't gone trade back is who are people trading up for in this draft?
That's what I was saying.
That's
I
my
think
thing,
trading
too.
back is going to be hard.
I think a lot of teams would like to trade back. I don't think they're going to be able to.
Like if you're the Colts, do you hope Shedeur Sanders slides just because the team gets desperate?
That would be.
But I'll lock in Colston Loveland as well. But I would not be opposed to a trade back if some of the things we saw in the mock draft actually happens in real life.
We're unanimous, yeah. Colston Loveland. That's what I think happens.
Again,
I don't like unanimous.
Yeah,
Tyler Warren, 14.
Nope, too late.
That was,
Set in
that was
stone.
about as soft as Cubs fans celebrating this 2-game sweep of their team
Okay.
right now.
Slash your tires before we leave here.
Mark, for your Bears, Ashton Genty would be a dream. Is that right?
Not for me. I mean,
No?
I feel like there's a deep enough running back staff where you don't need to go up at 10 or, God forbid, trade up to go get them. Like I'd be fine if they did not do that.
You're heavily against it then.
I just don't. It's a luxury pick that I don't think they can afford. I feel like they should figure out offensive line or edge rusher, do something like that, rather than spend on a luxury pick, which they did last year when they drafted a kicker in the fourth round. So I would be against it, but I would be like, okay, in Ben Johnson we trust, I guess, if that's what he thinks. But I wouldn't love it, to be quite honest.
Cam Ward to the Titans is the thought at 1. The Jags at 5. We'll keep an eye on that. Houston, I assume offensive line. Maybe wideout has been a rumor. Certainly not expected to have a ton of wide receivers going round 1. We'll keep an eye on that. And then again, to Cincinnati, take a pass rusher. And how would that impact Trey Hendrickson at all? So we will break it down for you all coming up tomorrow on the show. It'll be a busy show. We're recapping the first-round pick for the Colts, previewing Game 3, Pacers and Bucks, and get you set for Day 2 of the draft, rounds 2 and 3 coming up on Friday. Everybody, if you can, enjoy this glorious, glorious weather. Thanks for spending draft day with us. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton, signing off right here on The Fan.